Give me coffee in the morning, gotta have the coffee. Wake me up, shake me up, dip me back a pussy. One sip, two sips, and I'm feeling so alive. Coffee in the morning, it's the best way to survive. Woke up in the morning, sleepy eyes yawning. Jumped out of bed, started the day, opened the curtain. Felt the cool breeze, the sun shining on my face. But something was missing, I needed my job to chase. Give me coffee in the morning, give me coffee in the morning, gotta have the coffee. Wake me up, shake me up, dip me back a pussy. One sip, two sips, and I'm feeling so alive. Coffee in the morning, it's the best way to survive.
Good morning, everybody. It's a Saturday morning. Good to see you all here on a Saturday morning. Thank you for coming in and spending some time on your weekend with us. If y'all can hear me in the chat and we're up and running, let me know. We know things can run a little wonky around here occasionally. Good morning, Forrest and Rachel. Good morning, Sarah. Welcome in. Y'all hear my coffee pot finishing up in the background? The thing is, I think I need a new one. It's like starting to get on my nerves with this noise it's making. Good. Sound is good. Good morning, Butterfly. I don't think Butterfly can stay with us too long. She's got some things to do today to get out and about. Hey, Keith, welcome in. Welcome in, guys. We're going to start to unpack this appellate brief here. I've only jumped into a couple of chats for a few minutes here, a few minutes there, but I really haven't dove into this document yet because that's just the way I like to do it when we're going to unpack it together here. We're going to start, or we're going to attempt anyway. We're going to attempt to get this document unpacked. Speaking of dockets, there's a whole bunch about to drop in the Idaho case, so we'll probably start to unpack some of that next week. After Christmas, we're going to reschedule our visit with Bonnie to come on and talk about Danielle Bell's case. Now, before we get started this morning, I got one final thing to say. I want everybody to know I feel great. I don't recall saying I didn't feel good or felt bad or anything like that. But I got totally gaslit at the end of that show the other night. Got told to hope you feel better. Why? Why do you think you hope I feel better? Whatever. Okay. As far as anybody else's channels go and what they put out there as content and what they decide to do going forward, I don't really care. Y'all go do you. That includes Schmo. I'm not here to tell anybody who to listen to or where to get your facts from or how to follow the facts. I'm not here to tell you who's relevant and irrelevant in a situation. Y'all figure it out yourselves. I'm done with the whole shit show. And I really wish Lauren Matthias wasn't sucking up the algorithm. Huh. All right, so let's get off of that subject and on to the real important subjects of the world. Wrongful convictions and all that. Yes, thank you for coming in and joining us. And y'all hit that like, share, and subscribe. Let's get this out there. Not me, get the appellate brief out there, right? Because boy, oh boy, there's a certain couple, man, I'm so over all these, well, people who live in their heads, who think they're the shit. I don't know. Anyway, we need to get the word out there other than the two people, married couple who are going around making the tours on the mainstream media, giving their 2 cents. And then, you know, the mainstream media world's taking those two people's 2 cents to the bank. Go ahead. So, for those who want an opposing opinion or an unbiased opinion, yeah, share the shows out. Maybe mainstream will catch on. Maybe, maybe not, right? Maybe, maybe not. Hey, Jet, welcome in. Asha, you guys, thank y'all for coming in and listening today. We're just going to be chilled and we're going to read this document and have some conversations about it. Um, it was a year ago today that Rick Allen was sentenced. He was convicted on November 11th on all counts. And on December 20th, a year ago, he was sentenced to 65 years for each count of murdering and kidnapping the girls, total of 130 years. And now, a year later, we finally have the appellate brief. And yes, a lot of people file, these appellate briefs. They all want an appeal. Some have legs, some don't. We know that a lot of folks are granted appeals, some are not. This case should be evaluated just as fairly, right? And not people, coming in with, oh, well, they found him guilty. So what? Well, so what? How many times have we seen wrongful convictions overturned? We can't pretend it don't happen. So we'll unpack what they got. And I'm not a lawyer, so I can't tell you if they got a leg to stand on or not. It sounds pretty compelling. I think there are some lawyers who agree, yeah, they do. And there's some that say, well, is it standard filing type stuff? A lot of times it can be, but they've got some, they had pretty specific points in that last document. So we were really waiting to see this one, to see them elaborate on the points, because you got to get real specific in these. You can't just go and say, well, we don't think. Okay. We can think a lot of things, right? So we're going to jump in. Right? TC overturned on an average 150 times a year in this country. And not only are wrongful convictions overturned, but false confessions are thrown out over and over and over. And, we've all got a little window into the read technique. We now know there's like a whole history there with all that type of stuff. And I think educating the public too as to what a lot of this stuff goes on. Even I'm seeing sketchy stuff go down in other cases that I didn't even want to pay attention to. Like stuff I didn't want to pay attention to have got my attention lately, and it's based on bad investigations. It's talking about bad investigations. That shit over there at Brown University. And I'm seeing a lot of talk about the homeless guy and how he's a hero. And I'm a little bit confused on that subject because days after this, he posts on Reddit, and within an hour or two of his photo being released, boy, Johnny on the spot, I got information that can help. Where were you a few days ago? But okay. So it's just a lot of weird things that don't make sense and what people latch onto and decide are heroes, and later it might not be. So, yeah. Keep our eye. Let's just don't jump on stuff immediately. Kind of like that. I almost forgot his name. The Hollywood kid who just killed his parents. I'm seeing all the feels. All everybody's up in their feels today about that. Oh, he had schizophrenia. He had this. Y'all need to remember. I watched an interview with him. He said that his first intervention came at the age of 14 years old. Was in rehab by 15. We're talking about a man in his 30s. Thousands of dollars spent on that man's mental health and drug addiction. And someone just recently decided he was schizophrenic? Thank you, Sarah Nick. They just decided recently he was schizophrenic. By God, give them an apple. And they go messing with some meds. Can we go back and look at the entire mental health record and see how long that's been going on? How many other times was he diagnosed with something before the schizophrenia shiny California diagnosis came out? That's all I got to say. Y'all watch them shiny California diagnoses. They change all the time. I guarantee you he was diagnosed with more than schizophrenia over the years, but we'll let Alan Jackson take care of that business. Like, I can't get up in the feels about that because I am not the person to probably see that as empathetic as I see social media being right now. Like, I can see both sides of it. And I'm probably bailing out of that case now that we got the messy shit about to happen. All right, let's get this appeal brought up. Appellate brief. Where'd it go? Oh, right here. Like, oh, where'd it go all of a sudden? Danny, you're going hiking? Well, dang. I'll be there in spirit. I might get tired, but wait up for me. Don't let me get lost. I hope you have a good time out there. Where you live, what's your weather like? Is it good hiking weather today? It's not too bad here in Florida. I got my window open. All right, let me get this screen up here. I got my coffee made. Well, second pot. Second pot. This might get crazy. All right, I don't want me up there. That's not cool. Let's get the. Oh, I forgot I had that Christmas thing back there. That's for all of y'all who want to be festive. Like, I don't even know. Is it really Christmas yet? How come I do that every year? It's been that way for years. Whatever. All right. So this was a really long document, of course. They got to put a lot of information in it. I don't know if I'm going to like this view or not. Let me take this down and do it my other way. Okay, now we got it up. Okay. There we go. Now let me make this a little bigger so I can actually read it. I think I need a second monitor, but then I'd probably get confused. Okay, let's get started. Okay, so of course, Richard Allen versus State of Indiana. And of course, they have the table of contents. The trial court, and they're going to go. So, number one here, the trial court committed a reversible error by admitting evidence seized from the unconstitutional search of Allen's home and denying a Frank's hearing. Now, we all know that Frank's hearing was denied. And some of this stuff about the unconstitutional search of Allen's home, things like they used false statements, and they to obtain the search warrant omitted the other sketches or descriptions of other possible people in the area, things like that, that they just didn't even look at when they were considering this. The trial court erred by concluding that Detective Liggett did not make false statements or reckless omissions in his affidavit. Detective Liggett omitted and changed key information that undermined his conclusion Allen was bridge guy. Detective Liggett's omissions and false statements recklessly misled the judge. And I think that would be Judge Diener, Mr. Scaredy Pants. With the omitted and accurate evidence, with omitted and accurate evidence, the affidavit is insufficient to establish probable cause. The error requires reversal. At minimum, Allen is entitled to remand for a Franks hearing. The trial court erred by admitting statements Allen made while gravely disabled during his unprecedented pretrial solitary confinement in a maximum security prison. Now, that's their second point. And he was held in most of us who have followed the case, and if you don't know, he was held in solitary confinement for 13 months in a maximum security prison pretrial. Forrest, I don't know. People are saying that this is going to go back before goal. Some are saying that it won't. To be fair, I don't think it should. I mean, I think that should be the law of the land. You know, if you're going back on an appeal, it shouldn't go back for the judge didn't make the decision about, the jury did, but the judge made all the decisions about what was allowed inside that courtroom, which then affects what the jury sees. I don't understand how anybody could think that would make sense to put it back before her again and give her a second chance, right? This ain't about her. So it doesn't make sense to me that it would go back before her, but you never know. It's Indiana, and nothing they're going to do is going to shock me, right? It's so weird to even think that it would possibly go back before her. So I don't know. And I really haven't paid attention to what all the lawyers are saying. Sometimes that gets a little overwhelming because they all got something. But I will go catch up with some of the things they are saying. Marissa, welcome in. I am in the Panhandle, the Northwest Florida part. I'm not from that Central South, whatever that is over there. we are Florida is like two separate states within one. We are way different than Central and South Florida, way over here in the sticks. I live on the beautiful Gulf of Mexico. So I need to get out there because shelling this time of year is really nice. I'll need to go for a walk on the beach. The trial court erred by admitting statements Allen made while gravely disabled during his unprecedented pretrial solitary confinement in a maximum security prison. Standard of review and additional facts. The trial court abused its discretion by refusing to admit the IPAS order settlement into the suppression hearing. C. The state failed to prove Allen's statements made while gravely disabled were voluntary. And boy, I heard that married couple say some things this morning when I watched them on Jesse Weber's show, and I'm like, even Jesse's like, y'all think that? Can we get the actual media to really push back instead of having a cute little conversation? Because your cute conversations are quite fucking boring. Feel better. Just call me in a mood. That's different. Lordy, I feel silly. Number one, U.S. Constitution. The state failed to prove that Allen's statements were not a product of psychological coercion. The state's prolonged solitary confinement of Allen was state action. The state's prolonged solitary confinement was psychological coercion. Allen's confessions were a product of solitary induced psychosis, not rational intellect. Indiana Constitution. The state failed to prove Allen's statements were a product of intellect rather than the state's misconduct. I like the way they worded that. The state failed to prove Allen's statements were a product of rational intellect rather than the state's misconduct. I like these lawyers and the way they word salad their stuff. That's not word salad, is it? Even if the court finds Allen's statements voluntary, they are a product of unconstitutional detention. Why didn't we stick Koberger in a max secure prison immediately? He killed 4 people with a big ass knife. They was just chilling at the house. Allen's prolonged solitary confinement violated Article 1 S whatever 12 and 15. The constitutional violations require suppression. The error was not harmless. Who the hell is calling an error harmless to begin with? Just an excuse that harmless error. Y'all don't look at it. The court denied Allen his right to present a complete defense to explain the scene and impeach the investigation. I really want to dive into that, right? Because we know in the bullet points in that when they dropped the other document, they were going to go about the crime scene. And that really stuck out to me. I'm like, yes, let's do that. Standard review. The court committed reversible error by excluding Blair's sketch of Bridge Guy. Shouldn't have took the witness to come back to y'all saying, hey, where's my sketch? That sketch y'all put out, nobody's calling y'all saying we know where he's at. Where's the sketch I gave you? They're like, let us go look in that box full of tips. We might find it. Hold up a minute. Kathy, come here. Get your box back out, ma'am. The court committed a reversible error in excluding Tobin's testimony. The court committed reversible error in admitting hearsay to rehabilitate the timeline upon which the state built its entire appellate's brief. Mess myself up. The court committed reversible error by excluding evidence that impeached the credibility of Allen's confessions. The court erred by excluding the audio from Allen's solitary confinement videos. Now, her excluding that audio never made sense. Personal information? What are we doing here? The audio is just as important as the visual video. What were they saying to Allen? What was Allen saying to them? Why was the audio unimportant, right? The trial court committed reversible error in prohibiting the jury from hearing two calls made on April 3rd of 2023. We're going to pick and choose what y'all hear today. The trial court erred by excluding the statements and behaviors that provided the foundation for Dr. Grison's opinion that Allen's confessions were not credible. The trial court committed reversible error in denying Allen's motion to correct errors. Now, denying the motion, is that because Judge Gull felt like she didn't commit any errors? So therefore, we don't even need to have a stupid hearing motion. What are you talking about, sir? Go away. I've done nothing wrong. Okay. Always wondered how much she could get away with before somebody held her feet to the fire for her conduct, right? We can't just allow judges to come in and do whatever they please and never be held accountable or nobody ask a question. I don't want to live in that world where I blindly follow the justice system. Y'all seen her? She's that lady, she's got a blindfold on. That lady. Lady Justice, that's her name. The trial court committed reversible error in denying Allen's motion to correct the errors. The trial court committed reversible error when it excluded Allen's evidence explaining this murder as a ritual killing. The trial court denied Allen his right to show the state's investigation was incomplete, overlooked plausible leads, and mishandled evidence relating to third-party guilt. They'll have their conclusion, the verification of the word count, and da-da-da-da-da. Okay. And they go through their table of contents and cite all these different cases that they are citing inside the document. We're not going to read all of those. There's just a lot of examples that they did put in there, though. And you can bet A lot of those they're talking about are going to be overturned convictions and wrongful confessions and things of that nature. Uh, Even about the search, they'll search, unconstitutional search or whatever. Okay, so then we're going to get on down to the good stuff. It's like, where did it all go? Okay, statement of issue. Whoa, my mouse is being all sensitive this morning. Kim Hastings, welcome in. Welcome in. Vanessa. Danny, did I say you? Did I say hi? I think I did. Cassandra Rose. Marissa. Anybody just joining? Welcome in. Thank you for being here as we go through this document. All right, statement of issue. Whether the search of Allen's home was unconstitutional and the resulting evidence inadmissible because law enforcement omitted or altered key facts in the warrant application. We don't need omitted or altered stuff, right? Whether statements Allen made while gravely disabled during unprecedented pretrial solitary confinement were involuntary, the product of unconstitutional detention, and inadmissible. Now, the solitary confinement, there's rules on that, right? You cannot be in there over, was it 30 days? I don't even know if it's 30 full days. It's different. I think it should be pretty basic across the country, but I know they all have their independent rules, whatever. But across the board, you don't do that to people. I don't care what they've done. I mean, prison's prison. A lot of them deserve to be there. Some of them don't. Some don't deserve to be there half the time they are. It's just, it's one of those things, right? Some do, some don't. But we need to keep it fair for everybody. And that's just the way I like to roll. It, you don't put somebody in solitary confinement for that long. It's it's like prison's not bad enough, right? Like a little tiny jail cell. Did you need to keep him in solitary just to keep him safe? I don't know who he was being kept safe from. Florida's managing to keep Stephon Stearns safe after what he did to a little girl. We're doing just fine keeping old Stephon safe and secure 3 hours away from me. I don't understand what Indiana's problem is. Whether statements Allen made while gravely disabled during unprecedented pretrial solitary confinement were involuntary, the product of unconstitutional detention, and inadmissible. Whether the trial court denied Allen his right to a fair trial, to present a complete defense, to explain the scene, and impeach the investigation. Statement of case. On October 28, 2022, the state charged Richard Allen with 2 counts of felony murder by kidnapping, which was amended on March 22nd of 2024 to add 2 counts of murder. Now, that is just, that whole thing is weird to me. Why did you wait till 2024 to add murder? You know, I mean, it's stupid. They were murdered in the woods. So whoever you arrested is charged with murder, not, I mean, suspicion of murder. Weird. So initially in October 2022, 2 counts of felony murder by kidnapping, and then they amended it in March 2024 just to add 2 counts of murder. So November 11th, 2024, following a 25-day trial, the jury returned a guilty verdict on all counts. The trial court sentenced Allen. Hold on, I messed up. Oh my goodness. Whether the trial court denied Allen his right to a fair trial, to present a complete defense, to explain the scene and impeach the investigation. All right, and I went through this part. The trial court sentenced him to an aggregate sentence of 130 years. Allen filed a motion to correct errors, which the trial court denied. And that's true. I guess she doesn't think she had any errors. So, statement of facts. On February 14th of 2017, 14-year-old Liberty German and 13-year-old Abigail Williams were found dead in the woods. 2 days later, like many others, he came forward and reported he had been on the trail that day and saw 3 girls. November Supplemental 1, because law enforcement wanted to know whether he had seen any possible suspects, he was interviewed in a parking lot. After the interview, the lead was marked cleared, and the report was misfiled. But it was marked cleared. I don't care where it was. Y'all's filing problems are your own. But it was marked cleared. Allen then turned his job, family, and home in the small Delphi. Allen then returned to his job, family, and home in the small Delphi community. For the next 5 years, he did not sell his car, destroy his clothes, dispose of his gun, or relocate, but continued his normal routine. No witness identified Allen as Bridge Guy. I think that right there, from the beginning, a lot of us were scratching our heads who followed this case since those girls were reported missing. That's how long I followed Delphi. From the time they were reported missing. I remember hearing when they were found. I remember watching TV and stopping and looking at that Bridge Guy video they put out, going, damn, where'd they get that all of a sudden? It's been a minute. Now we got a video out of nowhere. I don't even know where it came from. Well, I know now. We didn't back then. It's all very weird. When the report was rediscovered in September of 2022, law enforcement insisted Allen was Bridge Guy without a single eyewitness. Over the next several years, the state built its case against Allen. The warrant, the Bridge Guy video. On February 13th of 2017, around 1:30 p.m., Liberty's older sister dropped off Liberty and Abigail at the Monon High Bridge to explore and take photos. The girls had the day off from school, and the weather was unseasonably warm. I was reading the footnotes, sorry. When the girls failed to meet Libby's father at the specified time and no one could reach them, Libby's family contacted police. An extensive search began. The next day, around noon, the girls were found murdered in the woods near Deer Creek, not far from the High Bridge. The best evidence law enforcement had was from Libby's phone found at the scene under Abigail's body. At 2:51 p.m., Libby recorded a 43-second video showing Abigail walking across the bridge with someone, quote, Bridge Guy, behind her. Law enforcement enhanced the video, yielding the following. And then it shows the photo of the Bridge Guy taken from the video from Libby's phone. Anna, I feel what I'm picking up what you're putting down. I had my thoughts too. Some of us have had thoughts about, like, no, I'm not an attorney, right? I'm just a lady here at my house on the internet. But yeah, I wondered why certain things weren't pressed. But then again, I wasn't in the courtroom. But yeah, I hear you. But maybe, you know, inadequate defense and all. Right. Vanessa, welcome in. Like, I don't know. I know Baldwin was on, I was it Defense Diaries, but I didn't watch it, so I don't even know what they had to say. The man is heard telling the girls down the hill. Law enforcement set up a tip line and many came forward. Hmm. But none said, hey, that guy from the CVS. 16-year-old RV, her sisters IV and AS, and her friend BW told police they were on the trail as they were leaving. They saw a man near the entrance to the Freedom Bridge. Pokemon, there's a lot of, I think they could have their choice with these YouTube defense attorneys. I think Andrea is actually doing her live tonight, giving her breakdown. I haven't watched any of the attorneys do a breakdown. Not yet. I'm kind of reserving that for my watch list over the weekend when I'm bored. Then I'll go in and listen for a little while. Betsy Blair, who frequently walked the trails for exercise, came forward and told police she saw a white man on the high bridge, standing on a platform, and he seemed to be waiting for someone. Now, Betsy Blair is the woman who gave the sketch of bridge guy number 2, who was not wearing a hat, who was not an older guy with a beard, and he had poofy-ish short hair. The young bridge guy version to go with the older bridge guy version that what's his name told us was going to merge together. And I could only come up in my head with that concept when what's his name told me that. I was like, okay, so I got young bridge guy, I got regular bridge guy, and when you merge the two together, we're not going to have a teenage adult boy or an older man. I'm gonna have a man now in what, 30s? Like, I couldn't make it mesh together the way he wanted me to. Can we get the drawing of the meshed two together? What the hell you talking about there, dude? Y'all know who I'm talking about. That old guy from the state police. Betsy Blair, who frequently walks this. Betsy is out there, and Betsy goes up onto the bridge, and Betsy does encounter a guy on the first platform, and her description of that guy does not even come close to the bridge guy. And they didn't put that sketch out for 2 full years. Why would you do that if you had the other sketch out for 2 solid years with no hits at all, and you still have no clue who Rick Allen is at that point? Why would you need to be forced into putting the second sketch out? Makes no sense. Like, you didn't know, so how did you? Oh, 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 damn. Maybe you did know who that was in Betsy's sketch. Damn, Indiana, stop it, trying to make me be a conspiracy theorist. And oh, Lord. Fuck. All right. Damn. She thought the man was the guy in the video, but he was wearing the same clothes. She thought the man was the guy in the video because he was wearing the same clothes. Well, man, Betsy, they got the same clothes, but your face is totally off from the other guy's face. They had matching clothes on that day or something? I've heard every guy in Indiana wears jeans and a Carhartt. It's kind of like these old boys around Northwest Florida. Well, they're in camo, so it's different. When she reached the bridge, she turned around and noticed two girls approaching. 4 months after the murder, law enforcement interviewed Sarah Carball. Oh, Lordy. Hot Mess Express. She told police that on February 13th, while driving eastbound on County Road 300, she saw a muddy man wearing a tan coat walking west toward town. I'm reading y'all's comments too. Cassandra, I something went on with that prison, but I think it's still open. I really couldn't tell you, hun. I have to look at that. I know they had Odinist guards working in that dang prison. Just coincidentally, our guards happen to be Odinists. Like, what? Now y'all really got me in a freaking conspiracy theory. Again, thanks, Indiana. 4 months after the murder, law enforcement interviewed Ms. Carball. Okay, so this is important because on February 13th, while she was driving eastbound on County Road 300, which is the road that backs up where the girls were dropped off. There's the entrance there to the trails, right? So and that's near the Mears farm location. She saw a muddy man wearing a tan coat. Later, that man's going to become muddy and bloody somehow. And I saw that married couple try to explain that away on that news clip I watched this morning about spit my coffee out. Can somebody give that man a haircut? Some hair dye for men or something. I don't even know. After seeing the image of Bridge Guy in the media, Carball said he possibly was the man she had seen. So possibly is not, and we all know witnesses can get things wrong, especially in the heat of the moment. Like, so I have trained myself over the years by watching witness fiascos and descriptions to really pay attention if I think something sketchy is going on around me. Like, I really want to make sure I got this description right. I don't want to be that weirdo that described a totally different person based on the fact that I saw them for like less than a minute, right? No, no, no. I need to study what shoes are they wearing, what pants, what jacket. Old John, the homeless guy, didn't even judge the shooter over there in brown because of his cheap Walmart pants. I just, that just popped in my head. Sorry. Simi, you've been here but couldn't chat. YouTube unsubbed you. Oh no. We're not taking YouTube's crap over here. I hear a lot of creators blaming the YouTubes for a lot of stuff, and I'm like, we're not taking the YouTube crap over here. You give my Simi her sub back right now if I give her one. Hold up, Simi. We got you, girl. We were traveling around in the same circles last night, weren't we? After seeing that image of the bridge guy, she could possibly be the man that she saw, who was the muddy man. All right, 5.5 years later, on September 21st of 2022, law enforcement rediscovered the tip Allen. In February, I need to do some house cleaning around here. Let me clean out these drawers. In February of 2017, the tip, Allen called and said he was on the bridge between maybe 1 and 3 and saw 3 girls. Now, for those of you who were in here the other day when we were talking about this, when we read the other document, waiting on this one to come down, you'll remember that I mentioned we were talking about Dan Doolin, right? The guy who took the statement from Rick Allen. And I said, hey guys, go watch this Reckoning in Carroll County. I did drop the link to that, I believe, over on the community tab. If you guys didn't go watch that yet, I encourage you to go take a look at it with an open mind. All right. You might be going, whoa, who took that tip from Allen again? And who stood around for 5 years not remembering the guy he interviewed that one day does resemble this guy we've been looking for 5 straight years. Interesting background on him. Allen called and said he was on the bridge between maybe 1 and 3 and saw 3 girls. Allen shared his address, phone number, and his MEID number, which is a unique identifier that can be used to track a phone's location. The lead investigators immediately started investigating now 50-year-old Allen. They believed the man the 4 girls saw on the trail was Bridge Guy. Chances are other people walking around that day might have saw Rick Allen. It's not in dispute that he was there. They all saw each other at some point, so you were all out there. So everybody now within that geofence warrant that was there, you're all suspects. Every single one of yous are now suspects. In my mind, can I go be a cop today? Oh yeah, Nick said, or what's that guy's name? The prosecutor over here, Nick. He says some geofence warrants are garbage. That garbage I've used many times in court. We got rid of it finally. He's like, well, I'm like, what? Yeah, right, Gwen. I was there and I wore the clothes. And you know what? I had a chat with Sleuthy one time. And I don't remember if it was on a Twitter space or if it was on YouTube. I don't remember because me and my girl have talked a couple times on both platforms. Not a surprise to me if there's a video of Rick Allen on the bridge. He said he was on the bridge. What if that is Rick Allen in the video? It doesn't mean, but Rick Allen says he never saw anybody else on the bridge that day when he was on the bridge. That's where I got stuck. So we still got a lot of, my head's always got a bunch, and I'll be honest with you guys. I don't know who's guilty of this crime. I don't believe it. There's a lot of evidence that makes me feel like it may not be Rick Allen, that he just was there that day. And now we need to make 2 and 2 fit together. Because it's been 5 years and the public's like, damn, we got to get this done. And then suddenly we find a tip and like, did it all just fall into place now because you accidentally did all this crazy shit for 5 years? It doesn't seem like it. It doesn't appear that's the case. It just feels really like a lot of darkness was with this case, right? You're uninformed on this case, Simi? Okay. That's cool. We want you to catch up and get caught up on it. And everybody can make up their own minds, right? I'm not one of those channels that want to tell you guys to free anybody or to do any of that. We're going to make up our own minds based on what we read and see. Now, I have been in the camp for a long, long time. I couldn't trust what the state was doing, and that's their fault, right? Not what I've heard on YouTube. And there's a lot of people out there I stopped watching in Delphi. A lot of people I do not watch, and I won't. There's only a few that I will. I would rather get it out of the document and go from there because there's so much, right? Um, these documents are very, very telling. Just like that Frank's memo was very, very telling. So I was a little disappointed with Ann Taylor's little Frank's attempt. I was like, wow, that was uneventful. Okay. Alan still lived in the same house and worked at the same CVS store in Delphi as he did in 2017. I feel like a lot of us who follow true crime find it odd that if he did do that, he wouldn't attempt to get rid of the weapon. He wouldn't attempt to get rid of the clothing he wore that day that was possibly covered in blood. He didn't attempt to, well, get rid of the phone. Some say, "Oh, where's that phone?" Well, he had 1,000 phones in his house. Did you remember? He didn't attempt to move, didn't attempt to change his job, get out of the public eye. I mean, you're a CVS guy. People, the whole entire town's coming to you for their prescription. They all see you. They hear your voice even. Nobody walked into that store and said, "Oh my God, that sounds like the voice that said, guys, down the hill." He looks like that sketch right behind him of the bridge guy. Holy shit. Not one person called the tip line and said, possibly. Or went across the street to the Popo and said it in person. Man, y'all see that guy at the CVS? That was the weirdest thing to me. Because I was convinced 5 years in, whoever did that was long gone from that area. Got on the fucking highway right there, Hoosier Heartland, and said, "See ya," and rode out on his motorcycle. With that vest on, letting the world know what he's a part of. It's just my theory. Oops, where's my banner about that? Hold on. I don't want to get sued or anything stupid or be accused of putting out misinformation. We're putting out theories. Y'all, I haven't read this document yet, so thank y'all for letting me be my usual smartass too. Is this my banner? It is. Okay. Okay, so he's still living in the same house, still working at the same CVS. On October 13th of 2022, when police showed up at his house, Alan agreed to talk to them. After riding to the station with the police, Alan patiently answered questions about his personal life and the walk he took on his day off 5.5 years earlier. Alan explained after spending the morning with his mom on February 13th, 2017, he went home to get a jacket before going to the trails. Now, Alan did say he was over at his mom's in the neighboring community town over there, left his mom's, went home and got his coat, and then went out to the trails. He walked out to the first platform of the high bridge, looked at the fish, and then walked back before returning home to watch the stock market. Huh. Because we were told he walked out there, looked at the fish, and was checking the stock market ticker on his phone, which is totally believable. I come from the NFT world a long time ago. I worked in that space, and boy, them boys, they be on them stock tickers and their candlesticks all day long. Like, they don't even, like, all day long we're watching it. I'm like, what are y'all watching? Our candlesticks. I'm like, shit, here we go again with your candlesticks. I love those Web3 guys. Anyway, didn't surprise me, but 2017, he's dabbling in the stock market. Okay, a lot of folks do. And I think back then people were being told that was the way. Go do that. He explained that he came forward after law enforcement asked to speak with anyone who had been on the trail. The next day, a DNR officer interviewed him in a parking lot. Now, the DNR officer, that is their wildlife and here in Florida, it's wildlife and preserve officers. Same thing as this DNR officer here. And that would be Mr. Doolin from Jesse's case that you will see in that Reckoning in Carroll County if you watch it. And I'm pretty sure I linked it. If not, you can look it up on YouTube. R&M Productions actually has the video out there, The Reckoning in Carroll County. And I remember when I watched that, and I was like, man, oh man. When asked what type of jacket, Allen did not remember and listed all the jackets that he owned. Now, 5 years later, do y'all, what were you wearing 5 years ago? Well, shit, could have been anything. So he lists all the jackets he owned: a blue Carhartt, a black Carhartt, or off-brand with a hood, sweatshirt, hoodies, and a fleece. Now, in cold weather climates, everybody's going to own a jacket or two and hoodies and sweatshirts and fleece. I remember when that video came out, or the image of that bridge guy, and I remembered, like, where'd they get that, right? My first, being from the South and being raised on the riverbanks and in the deer woods, my first mind went to I know it was a wooded area, some kind of trail system. Was that a trail cam that caught that guy? And they're just now getting that to release? That's weird. That I couldn't make it make sense because they didn't tell us right away where they got all that from. But the guy, what he was wearing, right? I was like, man, that's kind of generic. It could have been a lot of things. Everybody could have looked like that. That was one of my first thoughts. Now, I don't from that area, but I know guys like that, and I know those areas. And I also know that an area like that, you need to know where they're at. You don't just stumble upon them unless you're out in your RV and you're looking for places like that, right? Different story. Because I had to go through all the scenarios of who could have done that in those woods. Drifter, passerby, where's the closest interstate? Where's the nearest truck stop? What are we doing here? No, we got a bridge. Okay. Near town and a big highway. I was like, what in the world? He kept a skull cap in his jacket. He could have been wearing tennis shoes or boots. When law enforcement asked for consent to search, Allen expressed concern that they were making him somebody's fall guy by trying to fit pieces together that do not fit too close to the case. Now, they tried to use those words against him. Also, another statement he made to Holman in the car, they've tried to use against him. What do our favorite defense attorneys tell us on these YouTube streets? Don't say a word. What do those Miranda rights tell you? Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. Even that thing you said that was probably innocent, we're going to twist it in a minute. Hold my beer. And the minute somebody lawyers up, also, oh my God, they're guilty. They lawyered up. Not so fast. Not so fast. They come knocking on my door today. Mum's the word. Can I call Allie? What's Allie? Anybody got Allie's phone number? Are her DMs open? Because Andrea, I need me a lady lawyer. Where's the lady lawyers? Welcome in, Gwen. Welcome in. Simi, is YouTube drunk? Oh, lordy. Lordy. This platform. When law enforcement asked for consent. Okay, so he says you're going to make somebody's fall guy by trying to fit pieces together that do not fit the case. He was confused, thinking they were talking to him to look for helpful information. Although he understood they had to clear everyone on the trail, he was bothered by the time passage. After a break, law enforcement returned more confrontational with Allen, who became frustrated with being accused of murder and law enforcement contacting his wife and daughter while he was at the station. So if you get questioning with the cops, hey, why do you got me here? What's this all about? What are you calling my wife and my kid for? So if you ask a question now, it could be used against you later. Kind of like those narcissistic people. Hope you feel better. I have never met those girls before. They accused Allen of admitting he wore the same clothes as Bridge Guy, and Allen corrected the investigator, reminding him that he said he could have been wearing a sweatshirt. He had to correct the investigator. Ugh. Allen added that everyone has looked at the Bridge Guy photo for years. Preach it, sir. That's true. To him, it did not even look like Bridge Guy was wearing a Carhartt. Look, I have watched people analyze that damn video and photo to death. I've seen it mansplained, womansplained, cowsplained, aliensplained. We don't fucking know how to explain it. Height, weight, age, analyzed to death. And he's right. It could have been any damn body. I couldn't tell you if that was a Carhartt still. It's a blue jacket. I'm going to leave it at that. It appears to be similar to the Carhartts I'm familiar with, but I'm also familiar with other types of Carhartts as well. So I don't know. He's got on a blue damn jacket. The brand could be important later, yes, but it's blue. That's what any eyewitness in the moment's going to remember versus the logo, unless you're looking people up and down, judging what they're wearing. Unlike John over there in Providence, he doesn't care about your pants. On October 13th of 2012, the story Detective Liggett told the judge. That I like that. The story Detective Liggett told the judge. The guy gave me the creeps. I remember I watched an interview he did with what's her name? Barbara McDonald. And they're standing out in the woods and the sunlight's they just captured the right moment with the sunlight peering down, and she's like, "Do you have DNA in the case?" He replies, "We have DNA in the case." And I'm like, well, what the fuck? Whose is it? To this day, we don't know. Apparently, Othram couldn't do a IgG on it. Paul Holes couldn't do IgG on it. Y'all can't, not enough there to do a full workup. Rex Shurman's getting some hairs brought into court like y'all got over here in Delphi. New technology and all that. Same type of hair without a follicle coming into court in the Rex Shurman case. In Detective Liggett's probable cause affidavit, he concluded that Allen is the last individual to have contact with LG and AW, Libby and Abby, and is the individual depicted on the Mona and High Bridge from the video taken. I wonder, did his expert they told Kathy they had confirming that was her husband on the bridge? Is that where he got his confirmation from? Turns out that was not real, right? He reasoned that Allen admitted he was wearing a blue jacket and heading over, or heading and head covering like Bridge Guy. You know who else had a head covering like Bridge Guy? I got a whole video of him coming out doing a video wearing the same hat, saying, "Does hat bother you? Remind you of the Bridge Guy?" Fuck yes, it does, actually. Peaches, welcome to the lead investigators. And somebody, before we ever went live, joined. And I'm so sorry I don't have your name, but I did see that. So, whoever you were, thank you. I appreciate it. And welcome in, Peaches, and welcome to the community. It's a pretty chill place over here. Yeah, Gwen. Yeah, buddy. That'd be him. I think it's on my shorts, or it's a video. I can't remember. And for all you newcomers, I'm a hot mess express sometimes, and I'm not beautiful and perfect and polished, and my playlists are kind of a hot mess. They kind of non-existent, but I'll get on it, I promise. Maybe I can get me a Grayson to help with all that. He reasoned that Allen admitted wearing the jacket and wearing a head covering like the Bridge guys. Okay. Um, like the Bridge guy, and was on the trail bridge around the time of the abduction. So were many other people, apparently. But nobody saw or heard a thing. At the time of the abduction and witnessed the 4 girls. None of these people, besides possibly one, saw Libby and Abby. Were they playing hide and seek in the woods? Interesting, nobody else saw these girls. I didn't see them. Oh, God, no, not me. But I saw something. Here's a sketch. Blair and Carbaugh saw a man they believed to be Bridge Guy wearing a blue jacket. Detective Liggett implied Blair and the girls saw the same man because they similarly described his jacket. Also, Detective Liggett concluded that Allen drove his black 2016 Ford Focus and parked at the old CPS building on 300 North. He claimed that witness Blair and Wilson, which B. Wilson, saw a car backed into a parking spot at the CPS building. Wilson, I've said B, that was somebody else, never mind. Wilson felt the driver of the car was trying to conceal the license. Now, if I see a car backed into a spot, that's not going to be my first takeaway unless the car is parked in a very suspicious place. Like my neighbor's yard where nobody ever parks, or, so just weird. You know what I'm saying? Your spidey senses go off. But here we got a public area. Everybody goes around and parks, but they're all like, this person's honed in. They're trying to hide their license plate because they was backed in. Okay. Wilson said the car was a purple PT Cruiser or small SUV type. Allen's car is not purple. And from what I recall, those PT Cruisers have a pretty distinguished look about themselves. The color purple definitely is a distinguishable color. I remember purple cars because I'm always curious as to why somebody would paint their car purple, especially those PT Cruisers. I'm like, what the? Okay, do you? The purple? Or small SUV type. Blair and Wilson drew a diagram and had the vehicle they saw parked in the same general area and manner. Did they now? Same car? Sure about that? The part of the story Detective Liggett did not tell the judge. Blair's description of Bridge Guy did not match Allen. No, it did not. Real happy, welcome in. You're good. We're reading the document here on the appellate brief. Welcome in, Happy. Detective Liggett did not tell the judge about the differences between Blair's description of the man on the bridge and Allen's appearance. Just 3 days after the murders, Blair described the man as white, age 20, of medium build, and having brown, curly hair. That does not fit the description of Richard Allen. Whether you're looking at the bridge guy photo, Rick Allen's mugshot, or Rick Allen on hiking trips with his family. That is not Rick Allen she described. So Blair did not witness Bridge Guy 1 on the bridge. Interestingly enough, though, a younger man was also near on the bridge, along with the older guy who happens to look like the guy I made a short about, and he happens to have 2 young sons, one of which was dating one of the young girls down there in the woods, dead. Turns out, from a snippet I saw on X, we now are learning he was texted that morning and knew they were going to be on that bridge. Interesting. An artist completed this sketch, which Blair rated a 10 out of 10 for accuracy. 10 out of 10 for accuracy. She's like, yep, that's the guy I saw. And here he is. This would be Bridge Guy 2 that they finally released 2 years later. Anna, you saw one of those purple PT Cruisers, right? Like, what the hell's up with that? Was that their signature color? Kind of like Toyota yellow? That's a whole ass thing, right? So, probably so. All right. 2019, Detective Liggett personally interviewed Blair, who again described the man as slender, youthful, boyish looking, in his late 20s to early 30s. Now, again, with witness descriptions, do not ask me how tall somebody was, because I'm not going to be able to tell you. I'm just not. I am such a poor guess at height. I don't know. My kids tower over me. I'm like 5'3". Everybody's taller than me. About so much. Like this much, that much, or that much. That's what I'd be telling the cops. Like this much taller than me. Y'all figure out how tall that is. Oh, goodness. So I've tried to, if I feel like I need to pay attention to somebody, I pay attention these days. I've thought about it over the years. Would I be a good eyewitness to something? Y'all keep that in mind in case shit ever happens around y'all. Pay attention. You don't want to be that one person that got it all wrong. They'll all come at you on the internet. Can you believe this witness? Like, please, man, calm down. He had no facial hair and with poofy hair, like the sketch portrayed, which still gave a 9 out of 10 in accuracy. At the times of the murders, Allen was 44 years old, 5'6", and had very short hair. And he was a short man who was round. He's not thin. Blair's description of the oddly parked car did not match Allen's. Liggett also omitted Blair's description of the oddly parked car as resembling a 1965 Ford Comet with sharper angles. 1965 Ford Comet. A lot of us have known that for a very long time. For those of you just tuning into the case, that's a big difference between his Ford Focus, right? Or a PT Cruiser. 1965. I'm talking very distinct, and Betsy knew that for a reason. Below is her drawing of the car compared to Alan's hatchback. Whoops. So the photo on the right is just a simple sketch, I'm gonna say, I guess, by artist, where Betsy describes it as, y'all can see it more, straight lines, um, like these old cars would be. Look at Alan's car on the left. There's nothing similar about the two cars. Pokemon. He's built like my pawpaw. My pawpaw was an strong man, though. I'm gonna tell you what. Workhorse. I don't even know. I don't think I've ever seen anybody quite like that besides my own dad. But my dad's not built like my grandpa was. Well, grandpa on my mom's side. He was short, stocky, old man. Well, young man, but then when he got old, he was like Papa was short, right? It was so crazy. But Alan wasn't a tall man, and he wasn't thin. Blair also said the oddly parked car was a nondescript color, but not black. So you got to think about paint jobs on old ass cars like that, right? Kind of dull, black, blue, brown, gray. I don't know. Dark blue, light blue. Detective Liggett omitted, okay, Blair did not believe the man on the bridge was the same man Carball saw walking down the road. Now remember, now we're going to insert Miss Hot Mess Express over here because her muddy man changes to bloody and muddy, but Blair's like that's not the same person that she saw. Liggett omitted that Blair told him the man Carball described walking down the road is not the same man she saw on the bridge. Happy, I really don't know. I feel like he's taller than Alan, but I don't know how much taller. Honestly, couldn't tell you. It's probably been talked about all over the place. I don't know. Somebody in chat, if y'all know, let us know. Liggett omitted that Blair told him that that was not the same man that she saw that Carball saw. Below is Carball's sketch. Yeah, she got combative on the stand a little bit from the notes we heard, right? So this is the guy she claims that she saw. So are y'all getting the sketch based off an image of a photo that y'all sat down with some, high-tech artists? Let's see if we can get a sketch based off this Bridge Guy video. Or did it come directly from the Hot Mess Express coming down the road? He looks clean for a guy who was muddy and bloody. Looks a lot like that guy I did a video about that come out wanting to know if his hat triggered me. It did a little bit. A little bit, sir. After talking with Blair in 2019, ISP issued a press release distinguishing the man Carbaugh saw from the man on the bridge. 2019. True grit. True grit. Welcome in. Welcome in. Where you been? It's good to see you. So 2019, they talk with Blair again 2 years later. Meets with the ISP. And they issue a press release distinguishing from Bridge Guy 1 and Bridge Guy 2. The ISP explained the men are not the same person, but Magic Hands said they were going to mesh together and become the same person. So how does... Oh, that Delphi magic can only be performed in the dark too, by the way. I promise you, it's so much better to walk in the light. The ISP explained the men are not the same person and that Blair's sketch is representative of the face of the person captured in the video. So Blair's sketch is representative of the face of the person captured in the video. So let that sink in. Now they're telling you that sketch 2, the young guy, is the face of the man on the bridge video. Okay, so how's that Rick Allen then? What the hell? I need a big ass bottle of dressing for all this word salad. Did they tell the jury that? Is that how they explained it to them? I don't know. I wasn't there. And we didn't get a camera to see it for ourselves. So they're saying Bridge Guy 2, that young fella, he's the face of that short, fat guy on the bridge. Carbaugh said the man walking down the road was wearing a tan coat. Hot Mess Express would sketch 1, Muddy Bloody. He's wearing a tan coat, not a blue one. Detective Liggett also made false statements in the affidavit. He claimed that an interview was done of Sarah Carbaugh in 2017, and she stated she saw a man wearing blue-colored jacket and was muddy and bloody. In her 2017 interview, Carbaugh did not describe the man as bloody and muddy, or I'm sorry, as bloody, only muddy. Ah. She said he was wearing a tan jacket. Allen never said he was wearing a blue Carhartt. Sarah, you need to get your story straight, baby girl, because you just been a hot mess express from day one. I remember back when Sleuthy's spreadsheet came out and I went in there and read your stuff. I was like, what? What do we have here? Liggett falsely stated that Allen said he was wearing a black or blue Carhartt with a hood and a head covering. Allen told investigators that he did not know what he was wearing, and it could have been anything from a Carhartt to a sweatshirt, and that he kept a skull cap in his jacket. Although Allen's wife said he had a blue Carhartt in 2022, Liggett left out that she said Allen purchased that coat a couple of years ago. The girls were killed in 2017. Did he knock on every door in Delphi of every guy with that build and say, "Can I look in your closet?" Just voluntarily based. I don't have a search warrant. Yikes. But can I look in your closet? How many of these investigators had a blue Carhartt in the closet? Law enforcement seized. Okay, the trial court issued the warrant. This is about the warrant now. I need to freshen up my coffee. Guys, let me take a quick little break right for a second and grab this coffee, and I'll be right back. I know Pokemon, it is such a long ordeal, right? And we've been waiting on these. We were up early the other morning. Well, those early risers, we were up early with our coffee on watch for this to drop. And lo and behold, it did later that day. And I was actually live when Sleuthy slid in with the knowledge that it was here. So we're finally getting to it. But yeah, we don't get to follow an appeals process, right, in real time. We look at older stuff when it comes to that kind of thing. So this is interesting to follow this as it is taking place. So, guys, I'll be right back. Y'all, thanks for joining the conversation. Y'all keep it up. I appreciate it. All right. Thank you guys. Oh, Simi, that's cool. I've noticed you do call her True, and I like that. That's your granddaughter's name. Love it. I love the different names. I do. All right. Okay. Yes, Simi. Thank you for. So you have a question there, but this is the beginning of the appeals process. Like Pokemon was saying, this is the process has barely begun. It is such a long ordeal. So the attorneys did file. They were going to file. So what, a week or so ago, we read the document where they had asked for extension of time and add a lot more words to the document than they were given, and the judge allowed all that. So they have their brief out now outlining the the reasons they feel he needs to be granted the appeal, right? So we're going over that document. And now we're up to the part about the warrant. Oh, I don't jump into the tub either, Pokemon. It could be a little sketchy, couldn't it? Could it be a crime scene if we did that? uh, help, I've fallen and I can't get up. Gonna need one of them old lady strings in the bathroom to pull for emergencies. Lord. Uh, is it time for that yet? Is that part of the old lady phase? Panic button in the bathroom? Oh, wait, we got to get one of them things we wear around our necks, don't we? To push. I remember my grandfather had one on his wrist. He had purchased it, like, I don't even know how long he had that thing. Um, Bless his heart, when he got dementia, he forgot what it was for, and he thought it was for all sorts of different things than what it was for. So I knew if anything ever happened, he was never gonna push that button. It was, yeah, crazy. So I had to keep a close eye on him. All right. The trial court issued the warrant. Law enforcement seized from Allen's home multiple items, including a Sig Sauer gun, knives, casings, and the Carhartt type jacket with a white and yellow patch on the front pocket. These items featured prominently during Allen's trial. Allen denies the bullet is his, that he was Bridge Guy or had anything to do with the murders. Now, evidentiary wise, other than this Bridge Guy video, and other than him placing himself there that day, what do they have against Rick Allen? Nothing. Except for an unspent shell casing found 2 inches or so under the ground between the girls. And ballistics testing eventually showed it could be his gun. But it could have been a lot of other guns, and there were apparently guns that were never tested. And one of the, I call him the surprise witness who got up there and testified about coming home in his van, they took his gun early on in this investigation. And I don't think it was tested. So the only evidence you got is this bullet, so that should be highly contested, right? Just on just the merits alone. It's your evidence. We're going to contest your evidence, right? That's par for the course. But this one had a lot of problems with the expert that did the testing, the exclusion of experts from the defense side that they wanted to allow in. The judge didn't like the type of expert they were. The metallurgist, right? She's like, oh, no, 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 we're not having a metal expert up in here. Oh, hell no. Only this gunfire lady expert person. The prosecution apparently liked the Google team, the Timu team of expert witnesses. And I just saw a big story the other day that I've yet to share publicly. It's public stuff. It's not like I got it. I saw a news clip and I watched it because it was intriguing. But from within the prison, where they're getting their drones to drop their phones, they ran a scam calling doctors who were expert witnesses for trials and such, and scammed the shit out of all of them. And I thought, wow, I'd love to see that list of names. And how stupid could you be? When ISP analysis, okay, start over. Allen denies the bullet's his. At the scene, officers found an unspent, unfired 40 caliber Smith & Wesson cartridge near LG's right ankle. When ISP analysis, Melissa Oberg cycled 6 cartridges through Allen's gun, she did not find any marks that matched the marks on the cycled round at the scene. 6 times she did that, and it doesn't match. Thus, she could not establish a link between Allen's gun and the unspent round at the scene. Now, when all this first came out, I went down a rabbit hole and began to watch a bunch of videos that I could find from actual experts about ballistic testing. Then I went and watched opposing arguments against ballistics testing, right? Because I got to go make up my own damn mind about stuff. And boy, oh boy, I would have put up a little harder fight against this bullet unspent cartridge. But I think they tried. They did try. I'm not going to say that I think they tried. They did try. They tried to get their own expert in, and the judge said no. But the state's allowed to have the state expert here, Miss Oberg. Thus, she could not establish the link between Allen's gun and the unspent round at the scene. Oberg then fired 4 cartridges from Allen's gun. She compared the markings on these spent cartridges to the markings on the unspent at the scene and concluded that Allen's gun was the source of some of the markings. Is some good enough? 6, 7, 8, 9. How many times you test this damn gun and bullets in different ways? Unspent, spent. I want to hear about the unspent only. And the fact that you have to do it over and over and over to get there is really bothersome. And I'm just an armchair detective here at the house, having coffee and a cigarette, chilling with my peeps. I cannot lie. Mm. Some of the markings on the unspent cartridge at the murder scene. I have to go over the transcripts and review her testimony in court because I have not done that yet. Hmm. Let's make a note of that. Maybe we'll do a members only and review Miss Olberg's testimony. I remember people's notes and stuff talking about it, and it seemed to be quite messy. Okay. After learning of Oberg's conclusion on October 26 of 2022, law enforcement interrogated Allen again. For about 1.5 hours, Detective Holman accused Allen of killing Abby and Libby, or at least being involved. Boy, did he. I mean, the dude come in hot. Right, Forrest? How could some be anything other than, is that even probable cause? Is that reasonable doubt? Right, reasonable doubt. That word. What's my reasonable? Your reasonable? Or are they the same? Right. Some is not reasonable enough. All right. At least. So he accuses him. Well, how many of you? A lot of you probably have. We've watched it here. The interrogation, re-technique-ish, and all of Holman that he did with Rick Allen and Kathy. It was just horrible, horrendous. We've seen some pretty hardcore, you know, suspects be questioned in interrogation rooms and how they would just go at them. That good cop, bad cop thing we've always been taught. Good cop, bad cop. Turns out you meant read technique for years and decades. And how many false confessions overturned now due to the read technique? You get in my face that hardcore and tell me I did something I am convinced myself I did not do or actually did not do, I might get a little triggered if you're in my space like that, right? Humans are humans. You get up in somebody's space, you're going to get a reaction. So that's obviously what you want. So sit there calm, cool, and collected and let them go for it. I went for a walk on the trail. Okay, hold up, back it up. So Alan explained that he explained the very day the police asked anyone on the trail to come forward, that is what he did. I went for a walk on the trail and I went home and I did not murder two little girls. Man, the thing wants to go backwards instead of the way it's supposed to go. Holman repeatedly confronted Allen with Oberg's conclusion that marks on the casing at the scene matched his gun. Each time, Allen denied that the bullet at the scene was from his gun, and they timestamped it throughout the interview. Holman even claimed the methodology was scientific and like fingerprints. Yes, he did. Fingerprints, one and done. Holman, one and done. We don't gotta do them how many times and how many versions? Can you get your other hand out? But let me get them just in case. What the hell? They're scientific like fingerprints. The methodology behind the ballistic stuff. Oh, don't forget they've also got an expert confirming Alan's voice is that guy's voice saying go down the hill. Exhausted and frustrated by Detective Holman's relentless accusations that he murdered Abby and Libby, Allen consistently said he could not tell him what happened to the girls because he does not know. And they give some more timestamps. He did not know how that round got between the girls or how they died. Now, there was speculation that that bullet wasn't found right away, but it wasn't found after Rick's house was searched either. Like planting the bullet there type of thing. But here's the thing about bullets in the woods. As a girl growing up in the woods, that damn thing could have come from anywhere, anybody's gun, and been there for I don't know how long. Mr. Steve over at True Crime Web literally buried bullets in his backyard and tried to get it as similar to what was happening here and left them there. I think he did 2 or 3 different phases and took them out at different times. We wanted to see how much dirt's there. What debris do we have? Things of that nature, right? Interesting experiment, to say the least. And I guess y'all didn't use the Bardot method and extract DNA from the bullet casing because that method was literally developed for that purpose. Research it because I sure did. I'm impressed with that system. And it comes in a little handheld vac as well. Interesting, isn't that? Let me suck up some DNA while I'm at the crime scene with my portable vacuum. I saw a fireman with a vacuum cleaner. Did you? I could go there, I'm saying. He empathetically stated, I did not murder 2 little girls, despite Holman's lying about experts identifying Allen as his voice on the video. Did that expert come testify at the trial? Because I don't recall that. I don't recall any expert confirming, yep, that's the voice. That's the man, without a doubt. As scientific as my body language expert over here. Allen continued to deny he was the bridge guy. Detective Holman tried a different lie, saying 5 witnesses saw Allen with Libby and Abby, and a gun. I have a niece named Allie, and I don't know why that just popped into my head versus Abby. Huh. Interesting. Again, Allen said, it did not happen, and I don't care how stressed out I get. I'm not going to admit to something I had nothing to do with. And they timestamp those timestamps for the courts, right? Don't make that appellate court go watch that whole ass thing and look for it. Just no, point it out for them. We don't want them to come back and say like Judge Hippler's like, ma'am, could you give me some more? What is this nonsense you gave me? Make me work? It did again. Holman tried to use Allen's depression against him, claiming it was because he killed 2 little girls, and that did not work. Now, God, millions of Americans battle depression, but it doesn't trigger everybody to go out and do that. While Allen was being interrogated, ISP told her, this is Allen's wife, so Holman even used Allen's wife as an interrogation tool. Holman likes his interrogation tools. He's got a whole bag of tricks. Holman's bag of tricks. He's probably going to go around and lecture other cops on interrogation tools. I heard he got an award for top cop of the year or something. While Allen was being interrogated, ISP told her that the bullet at the scene matched her husband's gun. When they brought her in to see Allen, he hugged her and said, "It's going to be all right." So they're telling Kathy separately, the bullet at the scene matches your husband's gun. The voice saying down the hill, guys down the hill, matches your husband's voice. We have experts telling us this. I'd have marched them onto the witness stand first. Well, maybe I'd have put the story together and brought Hot Mess Express in with her story. But boy, my experts were coming in hot with this information. Tell me exactly how you got there too, because that's super important for somebody trying to evaluate the validity of an expert. You can't just come in there and tell me, you got to show me. Because it's up to me as a juror to weigh the two experts, if we get two opposings, to see which one's more credible. How I can't make a decision without more information. Holman he's using the interrogation tools against him by using his wife, telling her, the ballistics match. When they brought her into the room, he hugs her and tells her it's going to be all right. While left alone together, she asked how his bullet got at the scene, and he repeated what he told Holman. "I'm not going to say something I did not do, and I can't explain something I don't understand." He told her, "I know that no bullet from my gun was connected with a murder in any way, shape, or form." ISP lied to Allen's wife too, telling her that a witness identified Allen. Allen assured her they are not going to get away with this, and told her, I'm sorry you are having to hurt. I'm sorry you're having to go through it." Now, can you imagine the man you've been married to all your adult life is now being interrogated 5 years later for what happened to those two little girls in your community? This man you've known your entire life? Did Kathy just miss a bunch of I'm sorry, happy your comment popped up, poor Kathy, when I was saying that. Are they wanting us to believe that, we wonder when men or women do these things and their spouses, how do they not know? We always ask that question. Of course, we would ask it here. How could she not know? Apparently, he was just a normal guy, never had a red flag, because we haven't heard any, right? They try to put that once police call to their house like a domestic thing, but Rick was dealing with his depression and he was drinking, and Kathy's like, "Couldn't y'all come help me just get him stabilized," whatever. And they did that, the kind of thing. But that was the end of that. It wasn't like a domestic abuse violence situation as some are portraying it as. If you go look at it, that you see what it was. Anyway, so could you imagine what she was going through though? And if you saw the video, you could see it. What Holman was saying to her, and then bringing her in there with Rick. Well, they're saying it was you, and they're saying it was your bullet, and he's like, "No, babe." It's like, what the fuck. That had to be difficult. Even if the man was guilty, that's a hard pill to swallow, right? Yeah, Chester asked for that lawyer. But most people are live in a space where if they just say it, they're going to be believed, right? But yeah, hindsight and all that. But those of us living in this world, we know to get a lawyer. I need Allie on speed dial just in case. Solitary confinement. So now they're going to move into talking about that. So we've heard them move through about the warrant and the validity or the unconstitutionality of the warrant by omitting things and Liggett not being truthful in the warrant and all of this. Right, Blind. He did previously work at the Walmart before the CVS. And there really wasn't even a lot that came out of Walmart about him. I know that a few people said a couple of things, but what they did say to me wasn't weird, right? So I just discounted all that shit. Dude worked at Walmart, yes, and then he went on to the CVS. He liked that because at the CVS you get that customer interaction. At Walmart you do too, but it's a lot bigger. Tiny town America, you got that one CVS, and you're in there talking to people, asking you questions, right? Y'all got that window. If you got any questions, you go to this spot, you drop it off, and you talk to the pharmacist, and you hear the voice, you see the face. Welcome in, blind hog searching for acorn 3. Welcome in. I love the name. Veronica. Yes, absolutely. He appeared to be a nice guy, right? Not People didn't come out of the woodwork speaking ill of this man and how creepy he really was, and we knew one day and all that type of stuff. We didn't hear that. Yeah, Anna, uh, and Taylor. Trials are a battle. They are a battle of storytelling, and I'd have loved to have heard hers if we'd got there. I'd have loved to have heard it. I was actually waiting on it patiently for a very long time for a man who said I'm innocent. Solitary confinement. Just a few days after 50-year-old Allen was arrested for the first time in his life, he was sent to IDOC, Indiana Department of Corrections, as a safekeeper. IDOC transferred him to the Westville Correctional Unit, a maximum security segregation unit for the worst of the worst. The movies refer to it as the hole used mostly to punish. The hole is that little room you go to when you got to go to solitaire for a minute. County jails have them too. Allen was the first safekeeper in any IDOC employee's memory to be placed in WCU. Hmm. Yeah, it would be hard, right? And if you did do something like this, like if he did do it, what would his life function be after? Right? Could you just click it off and go right back to normal, never presenting or exhibiting any odd behaviors? More depression? Got the urge now to commit more crimes? Right? Just on one day, I'm going to go psycho, and then off that same day, I'm done being psycho. I'm normal again. That is extremely weird. That's like, what in the world? I don't understand that behavior. I'd have not. I need one of those YouTube doctors to come weigh in on that. How does that happen? That you wake up one day and your switch is flipped. And once you're done, it's flipped off, never to be flipped again. Don't say he went dormant like them serial killers do. Pretrial safekeepers, that's the first time that they can remember that's ever happened and been sent to Westville. Pretrial safekeepers with mental health issues are usually placed in a mental health unit. The IDOC knew Allen had major depressive disorder and was hospitalized in 2019 for ideation. I did skip the actual word because YouTube's like, oh, you said that word. But I think all of you get what ideation means. So that was in 2019. That would have been okay. So that's what, 2 years after the crimes. Um, are they going to connect that 2 year later moment, or because I can't connect those two if I unless I was convinced he was guilty. But 2 years later, an effect would be had about it. I, unrelated, right? I don't know. He received a D mental health code, the second most severe. Was he wasn't severe before he got arrested though, right? I mean, I'm sure that hey, that's a lot to digest what you just got arrested for, and holy shit, I'm in prison. I don't know that I'd sit well with that either. Honestly, I don't know. They might have to put me on them shell suits. I mean, not that I would hurt myself, for that they better be putting themselves in the shell suits. What are y'all trying to do to me right now? Holy shit. What's happening? That's where my mind would be. I got to get out of here. I got to go. I cannot allow this. I have boundaries. You've crossed them. Oh, man. I agree, Blind Hog. Thank you for coming in. So the accounts, I don't know if you're girl or boy, male, female, what, Blind Hog says the appellate brief does a great job summarizing foundational issues. Oh, and I agree with that. But there's much more in Frank's 1 through 4, so much more. So much more, which, as we unpack this, I'm interested to see what all they do have to say about this crime scene and these other suspects stuff, right? He received the D mental health code. Okay. Entitling him to one out of cell psychologist visit weekly. Well, certainly if you've got a man in that kind of D mental health code state, the second most severe counseling, but please careful where you get it. Whoops. During the visits, Allen was shackled and confined in a 3x3 cage, separated from the psychologist. Hannibal Lecter style shit. I wouldn't have been afraid to sit in the room with an unshackled Rick Allen if I was a psychologist. I really don't think I would have. I've thought about stuff like that. Would I be like scared? Cuz I feel like that would affect my evaluation if I were a psychologist. Psychologists, some of us think about that sort of thing. So y'all need to be careful because y'all are all treading on thin ice in my book. Every last one of you. Walla, Dr. John, all these weirdos that are about to come testify in Nick's case. Get ready for it all. Allen had no face to face interaction unless shackled or separated by bars. See, if he's in a cage with bars, why the shackles? Because I need him to be comfortable. And I also need him not to be medicated to do an authentic and fair evaluation. Outside his cell, he was restrained with leg irons, handcuffs, and a belly chain on a lead. Huh. They hid Koberger's and Lori Vallow's little stun belts for them. Oh, wait, 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 wait. You got rights? Hold on. We'll hide your shock thingies so the juries and the public don't be swayed and all that. Jury pools and all. They paraded him into court looking like that, actually, on dirty clothes and all. Other Westville inmates and general population lived in dorms, played games, ate together, watched TV, and moved more freely. Remember, this man hadn't even been convicted of anything yet, just been charged. And yes, what he was charged with was horrific. But come on, they kept Koberger safe down there in that little tiny ass Latah County jail. Look what he did. They're keeping him safe in that prison too from them vent people. But he didn't go to prison until after he said I did it and not induced by drugs when he did it. Allen was placed in a strip cell, stripped of everything but the bare necessities. Allen's cell was 8.4 by 12.5, with a camera, a mattress on a concrete slab, and a bug infestation. Oh boy. What kind of bugs? Roaches, bed bugs, ants? The fuck? So we have to ask ourselves as a society, is it okay for there to be bug infestations in prison? Is it really okay that these hardened criminals live with bugs? I don't it's not cool to have bugs crawling. I can't. My brain cannot with bugs. Bug infestation. They don't got no exterminators. How does that happen? Remember, they have rights and all. His only view was a narrow window facing a razor wire fence. So you're trapped in this tiny room with a bug infestation. So they're your only friends at this point. You're probably talking to them. I probably would name a few. And you got a little window reminding you you're razor wired in, right? It's like, what do you do? What do you do? Do you go crazy? How do you mentally save yourself from that? You got to put yourself in that position for a moment. While some of you may not want to because they're criminals, salty, fuck them. But just do it. Put yourself in a tiny room with a bug infestation, and the only thing you can see out of is a razor wire. How do you, and you know what you're being charged with? That could be your entire future. And you are saying you didn't do it, but you're already in the prison. I don't know. I'm pretty headstrong and I can put myself in a good mind state when I need to, but that for 13 months might get a little sketchy. And they're going to claim I need medication because I got sketchy. Holy shit. His only view was a narrow window facing a razor wire fence. Meals were passed through a door slot. That's kind of common. He ate alone on the floor or the bed. Allen was recorded 24/7 with ideation companions outside his cell door, writing down his statements and behavior. So these companions who are placed outside the door 24/7 to keep an eye on him are also supposed to write down statements and observed behavior. How do they know what behaviors to write down that are key? Are they licensed psychologist? Are they inmates like him? Every statement he says, write it down. Or can they hear it all good? They're outside, he's in there. Is he screaming, mumbling to himself? Y'all make sure you get it all. Get it all, dudes. If you went out early, you want an extra plate tonight at supper. And the guards with video cameras filming his showers, movements outside the cell, and attorney meetings. I got problems with two of those right there. The movements outside the cell, I am fine with it. Show me it so I can make sure y'all weren't doing something as you're outside the cell. Okay, fine. Showering? Hell, y'all got the strictest of rules when it comes to shit like that already in place. You got to film it. What's he going to do in the shower? Drowned? Swallow some water and oops. Would have been one of those breaking news stories. Man dies in shower. In attorneys' meetings. Really? Because isn't that illegal? Well, we didn't have audio on, but you make us extremely uncomfortable with your prying ass eyes. Prying eyes, they're watching you. They see your every move. I think I would have called it a day and said, "Excuse me. Let me whip out my cell phone." Oh, wait. Were they allowed to have? Didn't they take the defense's cell phones at one point? Gritty. Somebody help me out, you Delphi folks. Didn't they have to give up their phones? So that means they couldn't turn around and record you recording them and call it right then and there. I'd have went to the media that day. That might not have been the right move, but by God, I'd have pulled Alan Jackson's stunt. And if you don't think Ann Taylor wasn't watching the proceedings in Delphi and following the documents they were filing, pay attention to the documents coming out unsealed in that case. She was following Lori Vallow too. She done cited her ass several times. IDOC knew solid. I guess she didn't get no good takeaways though. IDOC knew solitary confinement could worsen Allen's MDD and even cause psychosis. And their policy restricts the time inmates with serious mental illness, referred to as SMI, can stay in solitary to 30 days. But the IDOC did not apply that policy to Allen, and he remained in the most secure solitary cell in Westville Correctional for 13 months. Now, that's a direct violation of a constitutional right, whether we like it or not. Whether you are, at this point, prison reform, mental health care reform is absolutely something as a society we should be looking at. Because not every guy's going to go to prison for life or sit on death row till old age. A lot of them are going to get out. And what are we unleashing back into society? Guys trapped in tiny rooms filled with bugs, going fucking bonkers. I'm not cool with that happening. That puts my children and grandchildren at risk someday. Like, I'm not down with that shit. I dare you to come at them. On arrival at WCU in November of 2022, Allen appeared like a deer in the headlights, but was coherent, quiet, and weighed 180 pounds. By April of 2023, he weighed 135 pounds, was psychotic, and gravely disabled. A year later. Carolina, you agree? Yes. You noticed? She would make statements in court in hearings, right? I'm like, whoa, 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 back it up. And what did you just say? Like, "Ah, girl, I see you." I'm glad somebody else was seeing it too. She's just like, my Frank's motion ain't gonna be that good, but I'm gonna try. But by God, you know what Hitler did? He's like, ma'am, could you put a little more meat with these potatoes and I'll give you a shot? She's like, I can't really. I tried. That was the best I had. I didn't have nothing as good as them dudes in Delphi did. Shit. Fire. They actually did look into these guys in Idaho and they actually did legit clear them. It's I tried, man. Alan's uh, decomposition. Decomposition. I agree. I agree, Anna. This case, and I always felt like Koberger's case would be cited too, like in the future, because the game he liked, because Koberger is all about that court system, right? And that's his jams. So he was prepared to go to trial and take it to the all the way. Something happened with mother that changed all that. Convinced me otherwise. And a lot of things were going to be cited from that case going forward, especially the rights of coming to IGG, right? The back door, the FBI did all that because that stuff's legit in that case. But FBI's got their tools, but there was a lot of things that I think out of both these cases you're going to see in the future where they're cited, right? Especially this one with rights, because a lot of the things we saw happening in real time as we were unpacking this case and from the time this man was arrested, because I followed the arrest of Koberger and Rick Allen. They were a month apart. And I was knee deep in both cases both times. And lo and behold, when one would die down document wise, one was picking up. And then this one would go quiet and this one. So I was able to balance both pretty much and keep a close eye on both. Um, so I was able to see the parallels easier probably for that reason. 'Cause I get bored and I had these two cases to bounce back and forth between. That's why I don't get the parallels people try to make between the two cases. I legit evaluated them both deeply for the same amount of time, and I don't get the comparisons. On arrival at WCU in November of 2022, Allen appeared like a deer in the headlights, but he was coherent. So we went through that and about his weight change and everything. And he became. Hang on, I'm getting a text message. I'm sorry. Let me check this. Okay. My sissy, she's out and about. She's always texting me when she's out and about. All right. So early in custody, Allen maintained innocence and believed solitary was meant to tear him down. He told psychologist Dr. Walla he felt like a broken man after 2 weeks. Now, I could imagine had he not had, so for 2 weeks, like, I'm assuming that's when he's like first in there. Those 2 weeks has gone by, whatever. Uh, has he had any communication with the outside at this point yet? Phone calls to the fam, um, attorney come to see him yet? I mean, you just got arrested, charged, went through this horrendous, weird shit with Holman, and now you're there in prison and you're slammed into a solitary confinement situation with all these bugs and shit. Like, what the hell? I'd feel broken too at the end of that. Like, what am I going to do here? Alan described a quiet, and we got Miss Walla will come up more and more and more. Psychologists who want to give their thoughts and analysis in legitimate, ongoing criminal cases should never appear on social media in any type of way. Walla, John, like, I'm so concerned about our healthcare system right now, mental health care system, and the people in charge of making all these diagnoses. Because I got questions about your stupid diagnoses. Diagnose this. Fuck. Alan described a quiet, normal life previously. Alan was extremely devoted to his wife. On November 14th of 2022, he emotionally told her, "If this becomes too much for you, call the detectives and I will tell them whatever they want to know." Now, that could have meant a lot of things, right? It could mean I'll confess. I did it. It can be fine. I'll tell them whatever they want to know if they'll leave you alone. Tell me when you're going to break. Who knows? Um, but I could see that because he's probably was worried about what his wife was thinking. Like, shit, I'm thrown in this damn bug infested prison. My wife is not being told that's me without a doubt. And you got no idea. So now he's talking to his wife, but he's let her know, this is too much. Let me know. It's already too much the minute it happens. By January 26th of 2023, Alan was expressing paranoia. In late March and early April, around the time Alan received his discovery and met with his attorneys, Alan's behavior suddenly worsened. Now, there's a couple out there that would have you believe a narrative that we've heard, Alan was eating his papers and he didn't flip until he got that discovery and saw all that evidence against him. What evidence? That bullet testing stuff? Some people in some sketch, I don't know, whatever. Around the time Alan received a discovery and met with his attorneys, Alan's behavior suddenly worsened. Guards thought he was acting up. Well, according to your TikTok, I'd say you were also acting up. I'm kind of scared of you from what I've seen, dark energy and all. That's why I'm like, oh, what do we have here? He refused meals, became nonsensical, spoke of old Bear Claw, hypnotizing him, and acted like he was from medieval times. That's interesting choices to say, considering old Bear Claw hypnotizing him. Wonder where that phrase came from, old Bear Claw. And he acted like he was from medieval times. Wow. Interesting observations. Choice of language there. He ripped legal mail, washed his face in the toilet, and drank from toilet water. He stuck a spork into his genitalia and covered himself in feces, spit, and vomit. Oh, man. I keep having to mute out to cough a little bit. I've got this sinusy, crazy Florida weather thing happening. Video from early April showed Alan frightened, extremely thin, bleeding, shaking, contorting, and interacting with non existent stimuli. This is pretty bizarre behavior. Videos 964, 973, and 980. So there's 3 different videos there they're citing from within the prison showing this behavior. And he was bleeding. He was, oh, he was pacing back and forth, eating his Bible and hitting his head on the cell door. He was eating his Bible. I remember when he got his Bible. On a video from April 12, he was naked while he flapped his hands, punched the air, counted imaginary objects, pulled feces from his anus, and smeared it into food and marched in place. Now, there are some people out there that want to say that that was all on purpose. That's a lot to do on purpose, right? True Grit, the sport, come on. I mean, it was described. They did describe it in court. You're right. As I was reading it, I was like, wait a minute, breaks. But so, yeah, back up there. Thank you for being here and coming in with your knowledge there. I love it. And been worried about you, girl. I hit you up in a DM, but I don't know if you ever saw it. But this is the first time you heard about it like that. Me too. But they did initially describe that in court. So if he's doing this on purpose, that's a lot, right? I mean, you can think of a lot of things to do, but that, I don't, we're chicks, but I don't think that is not painful. So what would cause a man to do all this stuff? By April 13, Alan's health had become dire. The IDOC psychiatrist, Dr. Martin, saw him naked, covered in feces, with brown fluid from his mouth from eating it. Oh, God. Martin found him very psychotic, hallucinating, and incompetent to consent to treatment. Incompetent to consent to treatment. Mm. Just think about how many mental health care facilities across the nation have patients they feel are incompetent to consent to treatment. How many are forced onto drugs they can't even understand because, they're incompetent and they're hallucinating? Here we come, we know best, we'll give you a script. But give us a fucking few months to adjust all of this stuff and see what's working and what's not, okay? Go home and live with your parents again in the mansion until you figure it out. It's all good. Everything's good. You'll be okay. Dr. Martin found him very psychotic, hallucinating, and incompetent to consent to treatment. I'm sorry, y'all. I don't mean to offend anybody that's in that realm, in that industry, or whatever, but I've had it. I just personally, my opinion, have had it. And I've been that way for a long, long time. On April 14th, the IDOC ordered involuntary medication and found him gravely disabled. So the IDOC finds him gravely disabled and ordered involuntary medication. Is there a protocol behind that? Or today we are like, oh shit, this dude's gravely disabled, and you see what he's doing in there? We got to get, what do we medicate him with? A working diagnosis of MDD with psychosis. A working diagnosis. He had lost an abnormal amount of weight and was not sleeping, Now, insomnia alone, to get the best of you, Halidol produced minimal improvement. The Halidol produced minimal improvement. He continued to speak in loose associations about things with nuclear war, like nuclear war, poisoning, dying, losing reality, cryogenic eyeballs, and not remembering confessions he had already given. How dare he? Cryogenic eyeballs. Oh, and those confessions he forgot he already gave. He also continued to play with his feces. After letting Allen sit in his feces for 2 hours on April 23rd, he was removed from his cell and given a shower. Did he get up and volunteer for it? Oh man, you guys are right. I need to shower. Allen's symptoms continued through May. On May 3rd, Dr. Walla diagnosed Allen with a brief psychotic disorder. Noting he had disorganized speech and behavior, but no delusions or hallucinations. Sounds like a run-of-the-mill diagnosis there to me. If the man's not talking right, that's disorganized speech. If he ain't acting right, that's disorganized speech and behavior. But it's just a brief psychotic disorder. He's got no delusions or hallucinations, according to our Facebook doctor here. On May 25, his shot was still not working. Allen paced for 2 hours, which I just reread Dr. Walla's reply in a Facebook group to somebody looking for true crimers to go over and watch on YouTube about the Delphi case. And she named them. Several of them said that one guy's voice was calm and unnerving. Yeah. Yeah. On May 25th, his shot was still not working. Allen paced for 2 hours and banged the back and front of his head on the metal door for about an hour. How many milligrams was those injections? Are we talking the lowest? What I need to see all of that. Despite his self-injury and a visible goose egg on his head, no one checked on him. The next day, Allen had 2 black eyes from banging his head. On June 5th, IDOC was administered another 30-day involuntary immigrant Halidol injection. It's not working, but let's give him some more. Maybe it'll work eventually. On June 20th, 2023, Allen was catatonic and extremely skinny. So you keep doping him up, you keep injecting him involuntarily with a medication. You say it's not working, but yet he's now catatonic and extremely skinny. Oh, interesting. Very, very interesting. No, Jill, those cameras were not for safekeeping. Well, they were for safekeeping somebody, but it wasn't Rick Allen. It was the order. Just a theory. Coffee and crime conversations and all. Facts, opinions, and theories will be shared. On June 20th, he was catatonic and extremely skinny. And they cite a video here. All right, the guards carried him to the infirmary, strapped in a chair. That Hannibal Lecter bullshit chair, right? After his visit, he remained vacant while staff wiped drool from his mouth. Well, that was mighty nice of them. And they timestamp it so we can see that happening. Oh, we didn't get to see it. That same day, Dr. Martin claimed Allen was coherent, oriented, not psychotic, and had been free of psychosis for 7 weeks. Hold on. Hold on. On June 20th of 2023, they carry him to the infirmary, strapped to a chair. He's vacant while they wipe drool from his mouth. That same day, Dr. Martin claimed he was coherent, oriented, not psychotic, and had been free of psychosis for 7 weeks, returning to baseline on May 2nd. And June 20th, he was doing what? Getting the drool wiped off his face? Huh. What's happening? Happy there's short and long acting. Okay. Right, it was supposed to last 4 weeks, so we're assuming it's the longer the time release type situation, right? Is that what you're kinda like that? So it would be that makes sense. Alright. Gonna move into the confessions now. Sorry, let me ah. Oh, okay. Alright. I'm sorry, guys. I had to read that message. Alright, it was kinda long. Write a book. Alright. So Alan's family. Alan confesses to his family over the phone April 3rd, May 10th, May 17th, June 5th, June 11th. On April 3rd, he told his wife, "I did it. I killed Abby and Libby." Later saying, "Maybe I did. I think I did." Now we have that now, right? And the way he's saying it, I was glad I got to hear it for myself. So I could evaluate what I'm hearing for myself, right? It's always important. Um So he says on there, so on April 3rd, he told his wife, "I did it. I killed Abby and Libby." And then he says later in the conversation, "Maybe I did. I think I did." So he starts going into that. There's more to that conversation right there, though, right? Where you can tell he's just like, "I don't know. They say I did it, so I did it," kind of thing. That's what that was. But maybe I did and I think I did is not a confession. That's a maybe. Maybe I did. I think I did. Uh, That to me is not like, where's the signed confession? Because that's been my biggest question. When Rick Allen began to make confessions in prison, right then, the guards should have contacted the prosecutors. And the prosecutors should have said, "Let me contact the defense attorney." And the defense attorney would have marched their ass down to that prison to meet with their client. Are you confessing? Because if you are, we need to make it formal. That never happened in this case. That's always bothered me. Instead, we'll rely on some medication induced 65 weird different statement type confessions. We'll do that instead. And damn it, don't ask questions. Hey, Criminal Network. It's been a minute. Welcome in. Welcome in. Okay. So on May 17th, Alan insisted to his mother he killed the girls. The next day on May 18th, Alan banged his head against his cell door to the point he had a gash. On June 5th and the 11th, Allen told his wife he did it, but that he has lost his mind. He is probably going to kill himself, feels like he is already in hell, and does not understand what is happening. I can imagine. Oh, the guards. Oh, God, can we get. I'm so curious to see if they put something in here that I feel is important, but I'm not an attorney, so it doesn't matter what I think. But I wish the jury had known, because I'd have been like, whoa, wait a minute. What do we have here? From April through June, guards repeatedly heard Allen confess, I killed Abby and Libby, amidst bizarre behavior. His statements occurred while he smeared the feces, rolled in it, drank toilet water, shouted at his shadow, sang, masturbated, paced, saluted, asked nonsensical questions, hit his head, and asked if he was dead. Mm. On April 29th, Allen made a more specific statement to a guard, claiming he killed 2 girls in Delphi with a box cutter that he stole from and left in the trash at CVS. Now, the box cutter, the one for they didn't know what cut those girls for a long time until that one day. That coroner guy, whatever the hell he was in his own garage fiddling around and saw a box cutter. And he said, oh man, that's what was used to kill them little girls in the woods. It all makes sense now. Where did he get that from? Did he get the information? I don't know. I'm just saying. Interesting. Now, what I don't see here is what I wanted to see. Maybe that's just too much in the weeds. He was going to rape them, but he panicked and he killed them. So, was he going to do that to them and then let them go so they could identify him later? He was going to do that to them, but he panicked. Oh yeah, when that white van come running down the driveway. Chances are they was long gone from that driveway before that white van ever showed up. So he panics and he kills them instead. Because that's just better. What the hell? He said they were screaming. Okay. He says they were screaming. Do the cops take the word for that? Because nobody in the woods that day heard screaming. Nobody reported it that I've seen. I don't think anybody testified in court they heard screaming out at the Monon High Bridge that day. Did y'all hear that anywhere? He also confessed once that he shot them. They weren't shot. Just the day before, he was covered in feces. Dr. Walla, oh lordy, come back here, Dr. Walla. You cannot escape like that, ma'am. Get your ass back up here. Whoa. On April 5, Allen's emotions shifted rapidly. He questioned whether he was God. He slipped a sheet under the door, wanting to confess to the warden. Later, Allen told Dr. Walla, I knew Abby and Libby. I'm sorry. Or, I'm sorry, I killed Abby and Libby. I'm sorry. He had intense eye contact, bizarre smiling, and circumstantial thought. Circumstantial thought. He's like, let me think about it. Although he would go off and on a tangent and sometimes never return to the topic or to the original topic, Dr. Walla claimed his confession was concise. It was a concise confession. Did she like write word for word? She's like, "Oh shit, I better get the authorities on this. This is a confession." Or did she go type it up later in her notes and just file it away? "Oh, here's your discovery, prosecutor." And he's in there reading it one day. He's like, "Holy shit, Dr. Walla." Oh, lordy, lordy. So how can he have a concise confession if he was going, in and out of this tangent and stuff? It's like Dr. John's theory almost. Ignore his behavior, but listen to his words. What? I got to look at both, man. Allen said he was motivated by sex, but was uncertain whether he had sex with the girls. He was uncertain. Well, they didn't find his DNA there like that. Allen also confessed to molesting his sister and daughter, claims contradicted by them, and that is true. 2 days later, Allen asked Dr. Walla if he had confessed. So he asked her 2 days later, "Did I confess?" Do you have a moment of clarity? And he's like, "Wait, whoa, what?" On May 2nd, Allen was very tangential, repeating himself and jumping between topics. He said, "I killed Abby and Libby. I will kill everyone. I will wipe out the whole world after I die." He mentioned World War III, was confusing nightmares and reality, thought he must have schizophrenia, was randomly saying methamphetamine, and telling people, including Dr. Walla, he loved them. The day before, Walla was unable to have a meaningful conversation with him. Was she able to have meaningful conversations in the Facebook group at night with her wine? Telling YouTubers about a white van? On May 3rd, he confessed to following the girls to the bridge when the bullet fell out, and then he said, "Down the hill." On May 3rd, he confessed to following the girls to the bridge when the bullet fell out. Fell out where? At the bridge, or after you said down the hill, across the creek, over to the other property where it was found? Hmm. He was going to R them, but saw a van. So, understanding the demographics, down the hill, they go down the hill to the private drive, but this van is coming along and they freak out and rush across the creek because you got to go down another hill to get to the creek. So when they dipped down that second hill, the van couldn't see them because I don't think the van guy ever said he saw them, which always was curious to me. They could see him, but he couldn't see them. So I'm trying to figure out how that would happen, right? How? Riddle me this. So they freak out. He orders them across the creek. He slits their throats and he covers their bodies with tree branches. He also said he feared missing Easter, thought his interactions with Dr. Waller were fake, and was paranoid about his safety. Paranoid about his safety? After entering a summary into Allen's record, Dr. Walla destroyed her notes. Ann Taylor would not have appreciated that, ma'am. Oh, fuck no, not in her world. I give her credit for all of that. No, 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 no. I need everything. Did you text anybody about the case? You'd have been one of her opposing experts wallowing around in a fucking Facebook group. She'd have took you to town, baby girl. I'd have been here for it. So after she gives her summary into the record, she destroys her notes. How convenient. So everything he allegedly said was gone. Oh, kind of like those missing interviews of the alternate suspects. Just missing. Nothing to see here, people. It's just missing. We mean, fuck, Delphi needs a search party. There's a lot of missing shit. On May 10, Dr. Walla, present, Alan told his wife, I did this. I killed Abby and Libby. Was she performing a couples counseling session? Hmm. Was Kathy invited to sit in on the session? So on May 10th, this occurred when Walla was present, or was on the phone maybe. Alan told his wife, I did this. I killed Abby and Libby, while also insisting he was losing his mind. So is she sitting in on his phone calls to, here, call your wife. Tell her what you just told me. Is that in the destroyed notes section? He continued believing he was dead, that the world would blow up if he fell asleep, that the water was poisoned, and that he was reliving the same day. Like Groundhog's Day, I'd imagine. Dr. Walla listened to podcasts about Alan 3 hours a day while continuing to work. Before Alan was arrested, she researched a suspect on IDOC's database after she treated Alan. She posted on social media about the case. And boy, I hope they get to go into more detail about that. Because that's a direct violation of that man's privacy and his rights. And you look into every fucking statement she made. Because this lady joined multiple Facebook groups about the Delphi case and was openly talking to people, even recommending where they go watch YouTube channels at. And there is a particular YouTube channel out there who mentioned this white van. Bring it on. So that's a direct violation of his rights for this doctor to even be treating him and destroying her notes. I got bigger issues with shit like that. How unprofessional could you even possibly get? Thank you for giving me more ammo against the mental health care system right now, because boy, y'all are just stacking up. Witness and trial. Beginning October 17, 2024, the state tried Allen on 2 counts of murder and 2 counts of felony murder. During the 25-day trial, the state built its case against Allen on 7 points. Now they're going to go into what the jury actually heard. Bridge Guy. The jury saw the video of Bridge Guy on LG's phone, which would be Libby's phone. They also heard from two of the 4 girls, RV and BW, Blair and Carbo. So they're hearing about the Bridge Guy, the jury is. They see the Bridge Guy video, and they also hear from 2 of the 4 girls that were out there that day who claim they saw a guy out there walking, and they're going to come say what they saw. And then you got Blair and Carbo. Now remember, Blair and Carbo saw different people. Different people. Blair's young face image belongs on the Bridge Guy's body in the video. They said it themselves. We read that. We don't know what Carbal's shit was or who that really was. That's who the jury hears from. After seeing the video, the witnesses believed they saw Bridge Guy on February 13th. And they get the trial exhibits here that took them forever and a day to get. Blair thought she saw him on the platform of the bridge. She described the man as white, possibly in his 20s to 30s, with brown, poofy hair and a youthful or boyish appearance. She also believes she saw Abby and Libby approaching the bridge. See, that's the only person that says she even saw these girls. She also believes she saw Abby and Libby approaching the bridge while the man was still on it. So if that was Rick Allen out there, he would be lying if he says, I never saw these girls when I was out there at the first platform looking at the fish. But Betsy says that wasn't even Rick Allen that she saw out there. That was this 20-year-old dude. She also believes she saw the girls approaching the bridge while the man was still on it. Blair's Fitbit data placed her near the bridge at the time of Libby's video. Huh. How near can we tell? Proximity or just like how near? Near enough to see the girls walk all the way across and film a video. I guess reckon she's close by. But the thing is, Betsy is close by, but she's not describing Rick Allen, right? This bridge guy character is one elusive damn guy. Although Carbo in 2017 reported seeing a muddy man in a tan coat about 4 p.m. Now, 4 p.m. would be long after Rick Allen was gone. She sees this man in a tan coat about 4 p.m. walking west on 300 North toward the trail, or toward town, rather. By trial, though, she claimed the man was muddy and bloody and wearing a blue jacket. So now he's done switched from a tan to a blue, and we're no longer just muddy, now we're muddy and bloody. She did go to that did come up in documents before the trial, that ended up happening, but we can't trust you, Miss Carball. Hot Mess Express, you did it yourself. Witnesses that have conflicting statements, or I have to red flag them all. I have to kind of shelve them and listen to the rest. So she's now claiming muddy and bloody with a blue jacket, though. That's the big thing. Tan versus blue, and your timing is weird. Now, timing wouldn't be weird to me, knowing those girls hadn't been discovered yet, but someone knew they were out there. If it wasn't Rick Allen, it could have been somebody else, or it would have been somebody else. Maybe they were just coming from up out of there or something. And they happened to look like that Bridge Guy 1 sketch, which happens to look like that other dude. Want to know if his hat triggered me. Or not me directly, but y'all know. BH, that guy. Also, surveillance video captured a car like Allen's driving down 300 North at 1:27 p.m. The prosecutor argued that this was Allen shortly before he parked and walked to the trail, and that Carball saw Allen walking back to his car after committing the murders at 4 o'clock. Put that in your notes. At trial, no eyewitness identified Allen as Bridge Guy. The prosecutor, however, told the jury Allen must be Bridge Guy because every witness is addendum the person they saw was Bridge Guy. Now, did anybody get on that stand and directly testify, yes, that man sitting right there? Could you point to the man you think you saw? Is he present in the courtroom? Yes, that's him. Or could you look at this sketch or this photograph? Oh, wait, 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 wait. We not allowed. Not allowed. Those all important sketches were suddenly irrelevant to everything. How could that be? Hmm. There's no doubt in their mind. And Blair, according to the prosecutor, must have seen Alan right before the girls, because Alan told us he went onto to the bridge, out to the first platform, which is exactly what Betsy told you. Lord. But Betsy didn't describe the man you want her to describe. So you're going to now say, well, it must have been what she's seen. Poor woman. Hope she feels better. Gets her some new glasses and all. Trooper Harshman, who had listened to Alan's jail calls, believed it was Alan's voice on the video. Trooper. Here in Florida, we have the Highway Patrol, state troopers. They investigate accidents, vehicular homicides, and such. Don't want to mess around these Florida interstates. Them dudes, man. We also had the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, and that's where we would get the voice experts from, not the state troopers. But here we got Trooper Harshman, who listened to Alan's jail calls. I guess that sound over the phone, that recording, compared to the other recording, I guess that's what he was comparing, believed it was the voice on the video. Was that the expert that Holman wanted Kathy and Rick to believe confirmed the voice was without a doubt Rick Allen? Trooper Harshman. He didn't get an award right along beside Holman, did he? Yeah. I don't know who, outside of Rick Allen, I don't know who Bridge Guy was, but I go back and forth between who I think it could be, RL, or makes more sense. I got to give you that than my other alt. I got y'all don't send me down a rabbit hole. God, and I can't read your comments, especially you criminals. Stop it. I'm teasing. I love y'all joining the conversation, but I'll want to join in it in just a minute. All right. Trooper Harshman has listened to Alan's calls and believed it was the voice. Bullet. Oh boy, the magic bullet. The jury heard from a battle of firearms experts over the bullet. For the state, Oberg testified that when she matched test firings from Allen's gun to the unspent casing at the scene, she applied the Association of Firearm and Tool Mark Examiners methodology. Oops. No, go up. I jacked this mouse from my son, and I never bought my own. I think I want to get a different one. I think because it's a right-handed mouse, and I am a left-handed person using a right-handed mouse. The other day, I was eating, so I used my right hand. I was like, wait, this feels better with this mouse, but I just use it wrong. It's me. It's user error. But if I go with my right hand, where it's gonna go crazy. So just letting y'all know why it's like y'all are like, what's wrong with this lady? That's why. I'm backwards. I live in a right-handed person's world. So she applies them to the firearm tool mark examiner's methodology. She gave an error rate for the methodology of 2.2% for false positives and 2.87% for false negatives. She discussed studies and articles that she reviewed to apply her methodology. Oberg admitted that the AFTE methodology is subjective, but she testified that in 17 years of applying it, she was unaware of ever making a mistake in identification. During closing, the prosecutor told the jury that she has never been wrong. Now, I don't know if that's true, and people did look into that. I don't think anybody ever found, like, has anybody ever challenged her, right, about being wrong? It was easy to say you got a perfect record if you've never been challenged. Right, Dr. John? For the defense, Eric Warren, an expert in applying the AFTE methodology, testified that comparing tool marks on an unspent cartridge with tool marks on a spent test firings is akin to comparing apples to oranges. That was from the defense, Eric Warren, who was an expert in applying the AFTE methodology. Now, he testified that comparing tool marks on an unspent cartridge with tool marks on a spent test firing is akin to comparing apples to oranges. So, right, the unspent versus the spent, right? There's your difference. And she tried multiple times before she got there. And in his opinion, there was insufficient agreement on the tool marks to match Allen's gun with the unspent casing found at the murder scene. Okay. Sorry, I had to reach for something. Timeline. Oh, Christopher Cecil. He's entered the picture. Y'all buckle up, buttercups. I don't know how deep this gets. Exactly, Carolina. That's the thing. If they do have the wrong. Hold on. Let me grab. Hold on 1 second. Oh, I'm so sorry. That actually turned out to be a little bit important, but oh geez. Oh lordy. Okay. I mean everything's good. It's just yeah. Okay. True crime world never stops, turns out. All right. Uh yeah. You always have to okay, criminal, you're right. Because look, when you feel like a cover up began, why would they was it a cover up or just sloppy ass cops not wanting to admit they, this or that? And did it just start like that? Oh boy. But the point is, it feels like that's what happened, that this began immediately. So what do you do 5 years later? Do you think they had that tip the whole time and just sat on it, and then one day it's like, you know what? We got to get somewhere. Remember that one guy that said he was out there? Let's go get him. I don't know. So weird. And why would you cover it up? That's always my big question. It makes them look super shady. Makes me have questions for sure. Christopher Cecil testified regarding the movement and the health data on Libby's phone. Now, there's a lot going on with Libby's phone. Way too much for my taste. And I didn't like the fact that the phone was given back to the family. No shade to the family at all. No phone should ever be given back to anybody and then taken back by police. Because then I got an evidentiary problem, chain of custody and all. So this phone does a lot of bizarre stuff. And think about all the technology. Yeah, this is 2017, and they did five. They were always going back to this phone. Oh, we got new software. We got new technology. We can now do this to the phone. All these phone datas that come into courts now. Why is Libby German's phone the most difficult on the face of the earth to figure out? Why do we have an expert that needs to Google shit to figure it out? Crazy. The girls encountered the bridge guy at 2:13 p.m. on Libby's phone. Oh, and Libby's phone stopped registering movement at 2:32. Now, keep an eye on this timeline, guys. So 2:13 bridge guy encounter. 2:32 it stopped moving. So, are they completely across the creek by now? In the woods, not moving? Fruit of the poisonous tree. You keep wanting me to go back and go review all your old videos. Stop it. That's good shit. I spent you gave me a lot of good company. Sent me down some damn rabbit holes, thank you. 131 to 208, there was 1,682 steps. So that was between 130 and 208. That's before the bridge guy encounter. At 208 to 218, 414.38 meters walked. At 225 to 232, 2 flights climbed, and final movement recorded. Oh boy, we got some John O'Keefe flights climbing going on here. Is it real or just the incline in the road? 2 flights climbed at the final movement recorded. So down the hill, cross the drive, down that low hill, cross the creek, up another hill. That'd be 3, wouldn't it? $232, it stopped moving. The state argued that this activity overlapped with Allen being on the trails and Allen completing and leaving the scene by 3:56. 4 minutes later, he's seen by Hot Mess Express. Oh, yeah, here she comes. Where he was seen by Carbo walking on 300 North. Hmm. That's where they got the timeline from. He left at 4. What about his phone data? What does it tell you he left the area? Because we got to trust the eyewitness to. Are we hanging it all on that? Allen contested this timeline through Stacey Eldridge, a former FBI forensic analyst. She testified that someone inserted wired headphones or an aux cable into Libby's phone at 5:45 p.m. and removed it at 10:32 p.m. After he's left the area. Where was the phone's location? Right there with Libby. Right there with Libby. So who's out in the woods at 5:45 p.m. plugging an aux cable or a headphone into this phone? This phone's registering that happening. They see it in the data. I went over Stefan Stern's entire Celebrite report. Interesting stuff can be found in that thing. Wow. That phone knows everything you're doing. And they didn't remove it though till 10:32. So it was in there for several hours. This would silence the phone. And she noted that an incoming phone call occurred moments before the headphones or aux were plugged into the phone, which would have silenced the call. So there's a call coming in and somebody plugged something into it real quick to get it to be quiet because they didn't realize it was on. That's an assumption, but I get it. But my takeaway is somebody plugged something into the phone during that time frame. Why they did it, I don't know, but they did it. mm. In response to Eldridge's testimony, the state asked Cecil whether water damage could be responsible for Eldridge's findings. Water damage. Going across the creek, got water damage on the phone, and now it's going to think it had a headphone plugged in or an aux cable. Confused phone. Over a hearsay objection, Cecil testified he Googled it during the trial. The expert Googled it during the trial, guys. Those of us who followed the trial knew that. We Googled it during the trial and found some unspecified, non-peer reviewed, oh no, troubleshooting forums reporting that water damage or dirt within the headphone socket could mimic headphones being inserted. My God, I would have objections all day long and twice on Sunday. Hippler's head would have exploded right there, but goes like, "Oh yeah, that's interesting." You Googled that? Damn. Where's my phone? I got some law I need to Google. Is that simple? That's ridiculous. Confessed motive. When this tested Allen, it had no explanation for the murders. However, the state argued that once placed in solitary, Allen confessed to the crime and a motive. While gravely disabled, Allen confessed to guards, Dr. Walla, and his family. On May 3rd, he told Dr. Walla he was going to rape these girls but panicked and killed them. He said they were screaming. The prosecutor argued that the jury should believe Allen's confessions despite his psychosis, relying on the opinions of Dr. Walla, the guards, who the jury never got to hear. Those guards were Odins and had tattoos and on their face and once wore patches and were ordered by the court to remove them, and they didn't know any of that. The very thing that could have caused what happened in those woods was the very thing guarding him during his confessions, and that bothers the shit out of me all day long and twice on Sunday. Dr. Walla, the guards, and Trooper Harshman, who reviewed Allen's video and calls, the prosecutor claimed that Allen's confessions were logical and organized and the product of free will and his newly found religion. Fuck. Everybody finds that religion in the jailhouse. Almost every guard testified Allen's bizarre behavior it was orchestrated and not the product of mental illness. Well, the guards don't think it was mental illness because that's conflicting with the in and out of psychosis the doctors claimed was happening in the feces incident, shower recording, and all that. Huh. Orchestrated behavior. And it wasn't mental illness. Hell, we were there. We saw it with our own eyes. Forget what them doctors tell you. One guard said he knew Allen was truthful in his confession because of the look in his eye. Oh my God. Some guard claims inmates commonly smear or eat feces as a tool for attention. None are mental health professionals or knew Allen's mental health code. Ah. Going by the look in his eye. I mean, come on. Each time Allen confessed to Dr. Walla, she said he was not delusional, hallucinating, or psychotic. So during lucid times is when he would confess. I guess she's wanting us to think April 5th, May 3rd, and the May 10th. They cite those. Although Allen expressed confusion and memory gaps, she suspected he was fiending or acting bizarrely. On cross, she admitted she may have been wrong, and Allen might have been genuine. With hindsight, she was on the fence. With hindsight, she can make all these dramatic diagnoses, but she can't decide if he's faking it or not. Y'all. Yeah, we haven't seen anything that lead us to believe he's attracted to children happy. There's none of that's come up, right? There was no weird Google searches, in spite of what Jacob wanted us to believe with DB's fake searches that she ran live with. There wasn't even anything in there. Oh, the scary movies he watched, and that's all that bizarre stuff he was looking at, but none of it was about that, right? Nothing. And no obsession with children and looking at things you shouldn't be looking at, right? Stefan Stearns type shit. Although Allen expressed confusion and memory gaps, she suspected he was fiending and acting bizarrely. On cross, she admitted she may have been wrong and Allen might have been genuine. With hindsight, she was on the fence. Well, damn. The state introduced 31 suicide observation reports containing Dr. Wallace's opinion. Except for a few, she continued to find Allen non-psychotic while documenting paranoia, delusional thoughts, confusion, and or confusion about being dead and self-injury. Now, how she's confusing is all get out. Right, Jill? Where's the nurse? Where's the nurses that were working in this facility that administer the meds that are responsible for that, right? I hope that these appellate attorneys have all those medical records and the dosages, the times. It better all be there. It's supposed to be date, time, everything, especially that dose. All right. So at times, she at times labeled him as fiending for secondary gain. The day before he was deemed gravely disabled, she wrote he could be exaggerating or consciously deteriorating. So why would you say he's gravely disabled if y'all think he's possibly faking? This is so bizarre. When he ate feces, she called that behavior unclear. We're unclear if you're qualified to be here. Dr. Martin believed Allen was psychotic, but in remission after a mid April Halidol shot and back to baseline by May. Like Dr. Walla, he described psychotic symptoms, yet concluded Allen was much improved. When either doctor acknowledged psychosis, they attributed its factors other they attributed it to other factors other than solitary. These doctors were never once concerned, like legit concerned about his time in solitary, exhibiting these behaviors. They never said, "Hey guys, you might want to give this a break for a minute. Like, we got to work something out here. We got a loose cannon here." Yeah, exactly, Sleuthy. Why give Halidol to a faker? Duh, right? Because they want to, which is it's hard to figure out what the hell these people in this prison really wanted. Control's obvious. So Allen called Dr. Westcott, a neuropsychologist, who opined Allen entered IDOC with MDD and physically and mentally decompensated, showing early signs by December and March, becoming psychotic April through June, with residual symptoms later. Allen's solitary confinement, sleep loss, and starvation produce sensory deprivation, delirium, or psychosis. Dr. Westcott believed Allen was psychotic and delirious when confessing to Dr. Walla. After reviewing all records and videos and evaluating Allen for days, she found no evidence of malingering. Dr. Graciano, psychiatrist experienced with solitary confinement cases, testified that such environments cause psychotic delirium, confusion, and disorientation. Delirious behavior often becomes grotesquely regressive, including smearing feces, sexual acting out, self-harm, and suicide. On recovery, memory is often absent. He had no doubt. Allen was delirious and saw signs of false memory, common in delirium, where a belief evolves into a perceived recollection. Some people will say, "I think I did it," and after time start perceptualizing the event. The more someone tries to remember, the more concrete and distorted the memory becomes, like a game of telephone. A detail only the killer would know. Oh boy. Every case that pops off, there's only well, no shit. There's always going to be a detail only the killer would know. Brad Weber, who lives near where the girls were found, at the end of the private drive that runs right underneath the Monon High Bridge. I remember the day I realized that was a driveway down there. I was like, holy shit, hold on, brakes. Let me go back into my rabbit hole map here, off by myself, having coffee. Long, 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 long time ago. That bothered me. That little driveway did. Brad Weber, who lives near where the girls were found, told the jury he left work in Lafayette around 2:02 p.m. and drove his white cargo van directly home, arriving around 2:22 to 2:27. Did he now? The state claimed that Allen confessed to Dr. Walla that he attempted to rape the girls, but was scared after seeing a van, which forced him to flee with the girls across the creek. Again, I'm like, in my head, I'm like, well, where were they when they or he when he where was this man, the suspect, and these girls when they saw this white van? And the white van didn't see them. Did they just hear it? Which means you wouldn't know what color it was. You just heard it. It's crazy. And all of a sudden, this dude shows up out of nowhere. Oh, Brad Weber, let me testify. Yeah, they took my gun that one time. Jesus. But I was cleared. So I'm here to testify against the other dude. Wow. Brad Weber, who lives near the bridge. Okay. So he's coming home, but he's there between 2:22 and 2:27. Remember those times? The state claimed that Allen confessed to Dr. Walla that he attempted to R the girls, sexually assault the girls, but was scared after seeing a van, which forced him to flee with the girls across the creek. So, how could he see the van? Was he still on the drive when they saw the van? The van would have seen them. Were they already down next to the creek? Because he wouldn't have seen the van, he would have heard it. God, I wish I could have cross examined this fucker. Which forced him to flee across the creek. Allen's statement, the statement told the jury, contained a detail only the killer would know. What, the white van? Walla and what's his name knew all about it. The state argued Weber's arrival home in his van was what interrupted Allen, causing him to take Libby and Allie across the creek to kill them. Abby, sorry. This van freaked him out so bad that didn't even see them. He decides that's what's going to trigger me to unalive them. Oh boy, the scene. What are y'all saying in chat? Dr. Vondo, welcome in. You think red herring? Don't go near them damn white vans. We learned that shit in the 80s, man. Steer clear of the white vans, children. Yes, ma'am. We knew better. Get out of here with that shit. Both girls' throats. I'm sorry. The murder scenes. And they're going to go into just talking about the scene, guys. The murder scene was unusual and complex. As unusual and complex as the one in Bill and Peggy's case, I am so curious to know. Libby was naked, and Abby was wearing Libby's clothes, which is so peculiar. I threw that part in there. Abby's right leg was positioned underneath her left, which is also odd. Both girls' throats. Oh, Lordy, stay on track, girl, stay on track. Both girls' throats were cut with a sharp instrument. However, the injuries were different, LG had so many incised wounds along her neck that it was difficult to determine the number. It almost sounds like one of these girls was done the way one of the victims in Idaho was done, and one was done the way the other victim was done. Peculiar. The two upstairs. The two downstairs was flight or fight. 3 major vessels were injured. There was a scalloped edge along an incision. Scalloped edge. Abby's throat was cut only once and not as deeply as Libby's. And in my opinion, that was a position the body was placed in. Abby was likely murdered while wearing Libby's clothes. So if he got scared and decided, I won't assault them, I'm just going to kill them, why were they undressed? Were they undressed before you ever crossed the creek? Was you going to do it right by the creek and, oh shit, there's a van? We got to go. Quick, put these clothes back on before I kill you. Makes no sense. Abby was likely murdered while wearing Libby's clothes. Likely. Abby died in the location where she was found. But after Libby died, her 200-pound body was moved several yards to its final resting place. This created a V formation with the girls' bodies because they literally angled Libby's body. They didn't pull it straight up and leave it beside her side by side vertically. Doo-doo. No, it was angled. Was that on purpose? Why move it? Oh, to make it easier to cover them up with a couple of sticks and some leaves you pick up by hand. This created the V formation the girls' bodies were found in. And they're going to give a diagram here if I can get. Okay. So you can see on this drawing here, to the left is going to be Abby, and to the right is Libby. And notice Libby's arm is up above her head, and they say it was touching the tree. Now, when this talk came out about this ritualistic whatever this was in the woods, and I open-mindedly just started looking and listening, I was like, wait a minute. If that's what that was, the hand touching the tree is returning to source. Why her returning to source, I don't know. If that's what took place right there with that positioning. Sticks were deliberately arranged on the girls, covering no more than 3% of their bodies. It would have taken up to 20 minutes for Abby to die. Although Libby's injuries were more significant, it would have taken her between 5 to 10 minutes. Now, she also got up and moved around. And then they watched her do all that. And then when she fell to the ground, they drug her up to the tree. Whoever did all that is a sick individual. And these girls deserved absolute justice in a crime scene and an investigation done right. Let's not forget that. The blood pattern on Abby's hands was noteworthy. When injured people instinctively reach for major wounds, getting blood on their hands and sleeves. Libby had substantial blood on her hands, but Abby had little to no blood on her hands or sleeves. The state's blood spatter expert had never. So, is that why they think she got dressed before she was killed? Because there's no blood on the. She had no substantial blood on her hands, the clothes, the sleeves. So, y'all's conclusions, okay. But Abby had little to no blood on her hands or the sleeves. The state's blood spatter expert had never seen clean hands and sleeves in a case involving this amount of blood loss. So, what would account for that? Right, Dr. Vonda? Yeah. What would account for that? For those hands being so clean? The absence of blood may be consistent with with unconsciousness or restraint. So, if she's restrained or unconscious, she can't grab at her wounds, right? But there were no defensive wounds, bruising, blunt force trauma, or ligature marks on either girl. So she wasn't bound. The bodies were lying in the prone position, yet both girls' faces had blood patterns flowing upward against gravity and over the chin and face. Thus, sometime during the murders, a person articulated the girls' torsos and necks above their chins. It was clear someone lifted Libby's body to meet the flow pattern. Abby had a similar pattern, which meant her body was also articulated to a position where her neck was higher than her chin. This occurred while Abby was wearing Libby's clothes. About 4 feet off the ground, there was a notable blood pattern on a tree in Libby's blood. Now, some say it's an F on the tree. Some say, oh no, it's a handprint where they braced their hand. It's Libby. It's her blood because it's on her hand, and she put her hand there to brace herself. It's her blood. Here's a photo of the famous F tree. Now, is that an F or is that a, they say it's an open hand and you just kind of like, oh, there's a tree, let me brace myself, and that's the impression you would have left. What do y'all think? Is that an F or just a random blood spot? Yes, criminal. Yeah, it's like a ritualistic thing. It's bizarre, but there are aspects to it, yeah, that makes sense if you know the type of stuff, right? You're like, whoa, wait a second, red flags. The state performed a sexual assault kit on both girls and found no physical evidence of assault. Despite testing the SA kit, hundreds of clippings from the clothing and swabs from the girls' bodies, the cartridge, and the cell phone, law enforcement found no DNA from Rick Allen. Now, knowing where I sit with the Brian Koberger case, if that sheath hadn't been left in that house with his DNA on it, I think I would need a trial. And I need you to explain to me how he's the guy. I'm not saying I need DNA in every case, but by God, it sure helps when it's left at the crime scene by the perpetrator. We don't have any here. Never did. How does he do that? How is he smarter than Brian Koberger? Somebody explain that to me real quick, like in the chat, because I need to understand right now how Rick Allen from CVS got smarter than Brian Koberger, my PhD graduate, who knew better than to leave that sheath, but for it, shit got sideways and it just happened. Huh, interesting. The state told the jury that Allen controlled the girls, swapped Abby's clothes, articulated their bodies, and he moved Libby all by himself before fleeing the scene at 4 o'clock. The state's witnesses repeatedly claimed Allen used sticks as camouflage, and he moved Libby's body to make it harder to see, argued caused blood to flow over Libby's chin from him moving the body. And for reasons the state could not explain, Allen dressed Abby in Libby's clothes and turned and repositioned her at the scene, causing the blood to flow. Now, why would Rick Allen even tell that other girl to get dressed? Never mind, you get dressed, you're fine, blah blah blah, all this stuff happens, but you get dressed. I don't understand that. How they could. You imagine them sitting around supper that night or their little shot of whiskey going, "We figured it out, boys. This is what he did." Shit fire. Ah. Go up, you stupid thing. This thing is going to drive me insane. Okay. Although the girls' injuries were different and possibly caused by multiple weapons or different mechanisms altogether, the state's pathologists speculated that a single blade, such as a box cutter, caused all the injuries, including the mark. A straight edge caused the scallop mark? Did she move? I mean, what? The blood stain on the tree, according to the state, was an inverted L transferred from Libby's arm. Oh, her arm? As she Oh, hold up. No, an inverted L. It's not an F, it's an L and it's inverted. Stop it, y'all. You got your alphabets mixed up. What, Nick? How do they know that? That's a theory. So the state's theory was that she did that herself by propping up against the tree. Okay? I don't know if it was F. I don't know who did it. I know it's her blood. And a female hair in multiple incomplete profiles were seen contamination or background DNA from the girls sharing clothes or through accidental contact with people they knew. Now that takes me right back to an interview I heard with Abby's mother. And she explained how the cops or the authorities or the investigators, detectives, some fucking buddy, explained to her how you wash your clothes together, you get that transferred DNA. I'm listening going, what? That whole story was bizarre. I was like having a hard time following it and understanding. I'm like, what? Are you that gullible? Did you believe that word salad that you were just fed? Come again? No shade, but damn. That was hard. That was a hard pill for me to swallow. Oh, they said they got DNA. Oh, Tobe said they got DNA. I think Tobe might be full of shit. And a female hair and multiple incomplete profiles were seen in some background DNA. Damn. Touch, transfer, background. From the girls sharing clothes or through incidental contact with people they knew. Y'all stop shedding your DNA everywhere because I don't need it on me. Because when you do something bad, they're going to come looking at me saying, you got my DNA's in your background. According to the state, it could not find Allen's DNA because the blood from Abby and Libby was overwhelming the scene and competing. What? Y'all, hold on. I just got a headache. Like it just instantly fucking happened. Hold on. Medication time. Hold on. And it's not prescription, it's over the counter. Shit. Calm down. I cannot believe what I just read. According to the state, it could not find Allen's DNA because of the blood. So you got all that mixture happening, and y'all can't go talk to Ann Taylor. Because I know there's technologies out there to separate that mixture. You can come again with that. Go Google that shit, man. Go Google it. Lord. Mm-mm-mm. Fish that's been left out for a day. Ew. Don't do that to my senses. All right, so they could not determine. Oh, they couldn't find it because it was just mixed into the background there. It was too difficult to do all that work. That DNA shit, man. Y'all don't come at us with that DNA stuff over here in Delphi. God Lord. IgG, what the hell? Paul Holes is one of the best, and he couldn't do shit with your whatever the hell you got over here. Apparently, unless you told him to hit the road, Jack, too. At trial, the jury heard Paul did say y'all had your work cut out for you. I don't know what he meant by that. He wouldn't elaborate on it. That was a long time ago, too, during an interview I watched about during my research of the Delphi case. I went down a whole DNA rabbit hole. Oh, yeah, we got DNA. Do you know whose DNA? No, we don't. I'm like, the whole thing was creepy. Give me nightmares. Fuck, was it your DNA, sir? At the trial, the jury heard about the state's investigation from the day the girls went missing to a few days later when Allen met with Doolin Dan. The state then told the jury to fast forward 5.5 years. Yes. Oh my God, I got to plug my phone in. Oh, Lordy. That could have took the stream down. Okay, that was almost an emergency situation. All right. I wasn't paying attention. Okay. Well, if phone dies, it's gonna go down. That's all there is to it because I'm Wi-Fi in there, hotspot in this shit. I'll have to wait a minute and let the phone charge and come back. Sorry, guys. That's my bad. I got a fast charger, so hopefully it'll keep up. All right. At trial, the jury heard about the state's investigation. Okay, so now then they say fast forward. So he goes for a few days later when he met with Doolin. Then the state told the jury to fast forward 5.5 years to the volunteer finding Doolin's report in September of 2022. The jury heard nothing, maybe very little, regarding the manner, quality, and thoroughness of the investigation between the murders in 2017 of February until his arrest in 2022. On November 11th of 2024, following a 25-day trial, a jury found Allen guilty of 2 counts of murder. Allen appeals. Below is the evidence the defense was prohibited from offering the jury. Oh boy. Ah. Uh-oh. Guys, I think I'm going to have to let this phone charge because now I'm getting a notification that my battery is not going to be able to keep up. So I think what I'll do is take a break. And I'll come back with part 2 in just in a little while. Let the phone charge up. I'll, do my thing around here a minute, take a break. Y'all take a comfort break. Comfort breaks for everybody. But if y'all want to come back, I'll invite you to come back because I want to finish reading this, and I can sit here and read it alone and be bored, or I can read it with you guys. But if you give me about 30, 40 minutes, let this phone charge up and do its thing, we'll come back and finish unpacking this because I competing DNA. The fuck am I hearing here? And so we're going to start here when we come back. And so let me know in the chat, can you guys come back in about 30 minutes? If y'all are True Grit, I hope you come back. Hit me up on my Twitter DM. Let me know how things are going. All right. Or send me an email, saltysleuth@gmail.com. I keep it simple. Um, uh, right, criminal? Why isn't that IgG being used in John Bonet's case? We saw a lot of chatter about that DNA here recently again. I'm keeping my eye on that situation too because I'm so curious. All right, guys, I got to let this phone do its thing. I do appreciate y'all coming. Let me put down my page number here where we're at here. Okay, we'll come back to this page and we'll pick back up. You'll come back. All right, I'll be back within the hour, guys. Let me get the phone charged up, set the stream up, and y'all look for the notification. And yeah, thanks for coming in, and we'll be back again in just a little while. We'll go part 2, round 2 will come in. All right, thanks everybody for coming, and I'll see you back here. And well, if I get this right, in just a little bit. I do want to thank y'all all. I'll see you back here soon. Y'all have a good one. Go take a break.
Thank you all for watching this here video.